Chapter 445. Long Yu originally thought that even if fatty Zhu Tao killed Yi Luan, he wouldn't be qualified to be the fourth city lord. Now, it seemed that Yuan Liang was the mastermind behind all this. Moreover, even fatty Zhu Tao didn't know that Yuan Liang had colluded with Che Yunlong. It was obvious that Yuan Liang's plan was flawless. At that time, if Yi Luan died from taking the poison, no one would suspect Yuan Liang. Unfortunately, Che Yunlong was injured by Long Yu's dragon roar. He roared for Yuan Liang's help, but Yuan Liang didn't appear. This made him feel despair. Che Yunlong realized that he had been betrayed by Yuan Liang. Because he didn't achieve his goal of killing Yi Luan, Yuan Liang wouldn't appear to save him. To Yuan Liang, the failure of this plan might just be a delay in dealing with Yi Luan. But to Che Yunlong, encountering Long Yu was an accident that nearly took his life. "You can't kill me." Che Yunlong looked at Long Yu and said with clenched teeth. "What?" Long Yu smiled faintly. "I'm the chief alchemist of Thundercloud Fortress. If you kill me, the Lord of Thundercloud Fortress will never let you go." Che Yunlong said with a fierce expression. "Lord of Thundercloud Fortress? You mean Crow Du Sun, second Lord Ning Yixing, and third Lord Lei Wensheng?" Long Yu's face showed a hint of mockery. If they were still alive, they would definitely avenge you. Unfortunately, the three lords are dead. The entire Thundercloud Fortress doesn't have any heavenly tribulation experts. It's on the brink of decline. Do you still expect someone from Thundercloud Fortress to avenge you? What? The lords are dead? Long Yu's words caused Che Yunlong to be stunned on the spot. Not only that, even the other martial cultivators of Yellow Sand Sky City were shocked. The three lords of Thundercloud Fortress were dead? How is that possible? The three lords were peak heavenly tribulation experts, just like the city lord of Yellow Sand City. How could such an existence die? It's not just the three of them who died. The corners of Long Yu's mouth curled up slightly. The 9 Heavenly Star Palace, the Kanglan Sword Sect, and other forces all lost many people. Don't you know that the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Institute had a beast tied, and powerful beasts from the secret realm of the divine power appeared? Everyone was even more shocked when they heard this. The secret realm of divine powers was a powerful realm that all martial cultivators in the Heavenly Mandate continent had been pursuing for their entire lives. Since a powerful beast from the secret realm of divine powers had appeared, it was only natural that the Lord of Thundercloud Castle and the others in the Heavenly Tribulation realm had died. However, how did Long Yu know about it? So, even if you die, you will die in vain. No one will come to save you now. Long Yu sneered and looked at Che Yunlong. He did not care what kind of background Che Yunlong had. Since he had offended him and wanted to harm Yi Luan, then as long as he seized the opportunity, there was absolutely no reason to release the tiger back into the mountains. Hidden divine character. Long Yu's figure disappeared from midair. Then, a dark light flashed beside Che Yunlong, who was fleeing in a sorry state. Nether Dragon Blade. Long Yu suddenly appeared, and the Nether Dragon Blade in his hand stabbed all the way through Che Yunlong's chest in an instant, directly shattering his heart meridian. Che Yunlong, the chief alchemy master of Thundercloud Castle, died in the hands of Long Yu just like that. Long Yu grabbed his body and found a lot of elixirs in the black robe on his chest. It was a good harvest, and Long Yu directly put them away. After the dragon seal of 9 underworlds was gone, there was no space of 9 underworlds to store things for Long Yu. However, the dragon scale of 9 underworlds and the nether dragon blade in his hands had formed a realm of their own, and they could be used to store things. Seeing Long Yu kill Che Yunlong just like that, the surrounding spectators all sucked in a breath of cold air. This Long Yu was simply too savage. Whoever provoked him would end up in a fight to the death. Even the chief alchemist of the Thundercloud Fortress was no exception. It seemed like the death of the 3 castle leaders of Thundercloud Castle was somehow related to Long Yu. Is Yuan Liang back? Long Yu glanced at the surrounding Yellow Sand Heaven City martial cultivators and asked the crowd. His gaze swept past Fatty Zhu Tao, Qi Ziguang, Gu Jun, Bei Yu Yao, and the others. "I didn't see him." The crowd shook their heads. "Zhu Tao, what do you think?" Long Yu glanced at Zhu Tao and said with a smile, I wonder what benefits Yuan Liang gave you to make you work for him? If you tell me the truth, I'll spare your life. Otherwise, be prepared to die under my short blade, like Che Yunlong. Fatty Second's senior brother Zhu Tao was a little displeased with Yuan Liang to begin with. Yuan Liang did not even tell him what his plan was. It was likely that he did not trust him completely. Under such circumstances, the benefits that Yuan Liang had promised him would not be fulfilled so easily. Even so, Zhu Tao would not compromise with Long Yu. You're not qualified to kill me yet. Zhu Tao snorted. Come and kill me if you have the guts. I'll be waiting for you anytime. How can I let you wait so long? Long Yu narrowed his eyes and then moved. He disappeared in the air with the hidden divine rune, which made Zhu Tao's body tense up. Zhu Tao was sure that when Long Yu used the hidden divine rune, he would not be able to find Long Yu at all and could only passively defend himself. However, Zhu Tao still believed that Long Yu, who was merely at the worldly glory realm, was definitely not his match. So what if he couldn't find Long Yu? Long Yu's attack could not break through the defense of the yellow sky blowing power. Just as he was thinking about this, a dark heavenly mandate divine light suddenly appeared on top of his head. It then condensed into a beam and swept toward his head. Heavenly mandate divine light. Divine rune with the U character. Long Yu finally used the strongest power of the divine rune. He had comprehended 10% of the divine rune with the U character, which was several times more powerful than the law of the 9 serenities. Using it to condense the heavenly mandate divine light would greatly increase its speed and power. Zhu Tao did not expect that Long Yu had comprehended such a terrifying power. It was several times more powerful than when he was fighting Lei Heng and Liang Hua. He had just reacted and was about to use the yellow sky blowing power to defend himself when the heavenly mandate divine light, which was infused with the power of the U character, exploded on top of his head. A burst of air suddenly exploded and Zhu Tao's fat body was directly smashed into the street, creating a deep pit with a loud bang. You defeated an expert of the heavenly beginning realm 2 levels higher. Not bad, not bad, not bad. At this moment, a burst of applause suddenly came from the dark, accompanied by hearty laughter. Yuan Yang, Long Yu frowned slightly. In the next moment, he felt a wave of killing intent envelop him, and then a strong gale swept towards him from all directions. You're a Tianhua realm cultivator, and yet you're trying to fight me, a mere human Hua realm cultivator? Changing the grain for the old Mungdi? My nephew is in danger? Si Chiao Meng Chuan Fu route. Long Yu laughed. The first senior brother Yu Wanliang of the Heavenflower realm had launched a sneak attack because he knew that Long Yu had gained control of the Dragon Skeleton Ancient Tower. He wanted to take advantage of Long Yu's inattention to strike and succeed. Otherwise, he would not have been able to deal with Long Yu. However, how could Long Yu be unprepared? He was ready to release the 9 Abyss Dragon's true spirit at any time. That way, even a Heavenly Tribulation Realm expert would be intimidated by the 9 Abyss Dragon's true spirit. Compared to the Yu divine character, the true spirit of the Dragon of the 9 Underworlds was Long Yu's true trump card, his most powerful technique. Dragon of the 9 Underworlds, appear. After merging with the primordial consciousness, Long Yu could release the true spirit of the Dragon of the 9 Underworlds without fear of being devoured by it. To Long Yu, this was an earth-shattering transformation. Although Long Yu had yet to find Yuan Yang, he had already released the true spirit of the Dragon of the 9 Underworlds. A pitch-black true spirit that seemed to have come from the 9 Underworlds appeared behind Long Yu. A strange and unstoppable pressure was emitted from the true spirit of the Dragon of the 9 Underworlds. Everyone in the surroundings was instantly stunned by this pressure. Yu Wenliang's elegant figure also appeared in midair. He was stunned by the true spirit of the Dragon of the 9 Underworlds. Long Yu frowned when he saw Yu Wenliang's figure. Yu Wenliang had initially assisted Long Yu to fight against those exotic beasts, which made Long Yu have a good impression of him. Unfortunately, he did not expect that there was such a person behind him. Yu Wenliang had returned to Yellow Sand Sky City before confirming whether the exotic beast tide had been repelled or not. He was ready to seize power and set up a trap for Yulun. I wonder where He Qinxue is. Long Yu thought to himself, but now is not the time to think about this matter. The appearance of the true spirit of the dragon of the 9 underworlds only stunned Yuan Liang for a moment. Long Yu's figure flashed by, and the divine light of heavenly mandate condensed by the Yu. Divine character swept toward Yuan Liang. The aura of the 9 underworlds swept across the whole area. Yuan Liang suddenly woke up, only to find that the heavenly mandate divine light had exploded right in front of him. The violent destructive power seemed to be tearing him apart. Tyrannosaurus of sand. Yuan Liang raised his hand and condensed the Tyrannosaurus of sand in the shortest time possible. Suddenly, the Tyrannosaurus of sand rolled up his body and protected him. However, the defense of the Tyrannosaurus of sand that he condensed in a hurry was not enough to completely resist the power of the divine light of heavenly mandate. The power of the Yu divine character exploded with the divine light of heavenly mandate, directly smashing the Tyrannosaurus of sand. Yu Wenliang's elegant figure was suddenly lifted off the ground and fell on the street with blood spurting out of his mouth. Long Yu shocked Yu Wenliang with the true spirit of the dragon of the 9 underworlds. Then he blasted out his strongest move, seriously injuring Yu Wenliang, who was in the Tianhua realm. This scene suddenly made the surrounding martial arts practitioners of Yellow Sand City stare with their eyes wide open. They could not believe it. In a short period of time, Long Yu fought against 5 people in a row, starting from Lei Heng, who was 1 level higher than him. Lei Heng, Liang Hua, Che Yunlong, Zhu Tao, and the last one, Yu Wenliang. Chapter 446. Everything seemed extremely unreal. Long Yu floated in midair. Everyone was looking at him with a look of reverence in their eyes. The true spirit of the dragon of the netherworld hovered above his head like an ancient deity looking down on the world. No one dared to move recklessly due to its domineering aura. No one saw how Long Yu defeated Yu Wenliang, as everyone's martial arts realm was lower than Yu Wenliang's, and they were stunned by the true spirit of the dragon of the netherworld for a long time. When everyone came to their senses, they saw Yu Wenliang being sent flying by Long Yu. He landed heavily on the ground and vomited blood. SHT. In the restaurant, Gu Jun and Gu Yin regained their senses and widened their eyes as they looked at Long Yu, who was hovering in the air. Their eyes were filled with admiration. One must know that Long Yu was only at the human glory realm, but he was able to defeat Yu Wenliang, who was at the heaven glory realm. He had defeated an opponent 3 realms above him. Long Yu glanced at the people around him and knew that it was about time for things to come to an end. In reality, he had only managed to defeat Yu Wenliang by relying on his mental calculations. He had already guessed that Yu Wenliang could launch a sneak attack at any time, so he had already prepared to release the true spirit of the dragon of the netherworld. As for Yu Wenliang, he had only calculated that Long Yu possessed the ancient Dragon Bone Pagoda, so he had been on guard. He had no idea that Long Yu could unleash the true spirit of the dragon of the 9 underworlds, instantly intimidating him. You can say goodbye to this world now. Long Yu flew through the air and landed in front of Yu Wenliang with a nether void dragon blade in his hand. At the side, fatty Zhu Tao, who had also been smashed to the ground by Long Yu, was completely shocked when he saw that even Yu Wenliang had been defeated by Long Yu. The fatty hurriedly crawled up with great difficulty, then knelt down towards Long Yu. Big brother, don't kill me. These things were all done by Yu Wenliang. Don't kill me if you want to kill him. Long Yu didn't bother with Zhu Tao at all. Instead, he wielded the nether void dragon blade and stabbed towards Yu Wenliang's chest. If there was a chance to eliminate his opponents, Long Yu would not hesitate at all, nor would he say anything. This was a habit that he had developed long ago. Only in this way could he avoid many dangers and possible accidents. However, what Yu Wenliang said next made Long Yu stop what he was doing. He coughed as he fell to the ground and coughed. If you kill me, you will never see He Qinxue again. Where's He Qinxue? Long Yu asked coldly. The netherworld dragon blade stopped at Yu Wenliang's chest. Before long, Yu parted ways with He Qinxue and Yu Wenliang. The two of them stayed in the West Academy of Heavenly Mandate to clean up the strange beasts in the secret realm of heavenly people and the secret realm of true spirit. There shouldn't be any problems. Why did Yu Wenliang come back alone, and He Qin Shue was nowhere to be seen? Find me an earth-level healing elixir, and I will tell you. Yu Wenliang covered his chest. He was seriously injured by the divine light of heavenly mandate condensed by Long Yu with the Yu character. At this moment, what he wanted most was an earth-level healing elixir. That Che Yunlong just now must have an earth-level healing elixir. Here you go. Long Yu took out an earth-level healing elixir and threw it to Yu Wenliang. He didn't even frown. He just asked, "Where is He Qin Shue at?" Yu Wenliang quickly took the elixir and checked it. He couldn't help but feel happy when he found that it was indeed an earth-level healing elixir. "I will tell you where she is after I take this healing elixir." Yu Wenliang swallowed the healing elixir and said cunningly. Yu Wenliang, who used to be as elegant as the wind, looked extremely disheveled at this moment. His whole body was charred by the qi of 9 serenities. After taking the healing elixir, he finally looked better. "Tell me in 3 breaths, or you will die." Long Yu couldn't be bothered to wait for this guy to finish taking the healing elixir. Of course, to prevent any accidents, he had to get He Qin Shue's whereabouts first. "If you kill me, don't even think about seeing He Qin Shue again." Yu Wenliang saw that Long Yu was determined, and his face darkened. If he wanted to live, he could only rely on He Qin Shue's whereabouts. Therefore, he had to ensure his own safety before he told him where she was. But looking at Long Yu, he didn't seem to be so easy to fool. He actually made him tell He Qin Shue's whereabouts in 3 breaths. "If she doesn't want to see me, then so be it. Anyway, I don't have much of a relationship with her." Long Yu sneered, and the nether dragon blade in his hand suddenly pierced down, piercing Yu Wenliang's chest. Blood gushed out. Yu Wenliang felt Long Yu's action, and his calm face suddenly became frightened. "Don't do it, I'll talk. Talk." Long Yu stirred the nether dragon blade in Yu Wenliang's chest. That intense pain made Yu Wenliang's entire body tremble. If not for Long Yu controlling the strength and depth, Yu Wenliang would probably have died long ago. Long Yu was deliberately making Yu Wenliang feel pain, and then say He Qin Shue's whereabouts. Towards this kind of thing, Long Yu was best at it. Moreover, someone as ambitious as Yu Wenliang definitely wouldn't want to die like this. "I'll talk. He Qin Shue, she's..." Yu Wenliang was just about to say it when his eyes suddenly turned fierce. His body suddenly erupted with the domain power of the yellow sky, flying sand nomological laws. A wave of yellow sand immediately enveloped Long Yu's entire body, wanting to corrode his entire body. "Kill!" Long Yu did not hesitate, directly exerting force in his hand. The nether dragon blade pierced through Yu Wenliang's chest. Following this, the yellow sand around his body immediately dissipated. Long Yu directly killed Yu Wenliang, without the slightest hesitation. Just as he said, he didn't have much of a relationship with He Qin Shue. It was not worth putting himself in danger for He Qin Shue's whereabouts. One had to know that Long Yu defeated Yu Wenliang completely because of psychological calculations. If it was an open and above-board battle, he was definitely not a match for Yu Wenliang, who was in the Tianhua realm. After killing Yu Wenliang, Long Yu put away the nether dragon blade, picked up Yu Wenliang's corpse, and then flew into the restaurant. "He's dead," Long Yu said to Yi Luan in a low voice. At the same time, Long Yu directly threw an earth-level healing pill to Yi Luan, letting him consume it to heal. "Brother Long, thank you." It was impossible for Yi Luan to say that he was not grateful. After all, Long Yu not only saved his life, but also cleared away all obstacles for him in the future. Usually, Zhu Tao and Qi Ziguang loved to make life difficult for Yi Luan the most, but he did not know that behind all this stood Yu Wenliang, the eldest senior brother that he usually respected. Looking at Yu Wenliang's corpse, Yi Luan felt a little emotional, but soon thought of something and turned to ask Long Yu, "All right, Brother Long, my master, and the 2 grand elders went to encircle the exotic beasts. Do you know what the situation is like now?" The exotic beast tide has been eliminated. Your master and the two grand elders are fine, but they haven't returned for the time being. Long Yu said, it's just that He Qin Shue has been with Yuan Liang. Yuan Liang returned, but He Qin Shue is nowhere to be seen. I don't know where she went. Following that, Long Yu gave a simple explanation of what happened after he separated from Yi Luan. Of course, he naturally hid the matter of Azura County Lord Shu Chan and the mysterious woman, Consort Yu. He only said that the exotic beast tide had been eliminated in the end, and that many Heavenly Tribulation Realm experts were now recuperating in the Dragon Bone Tower. I'll send someone to look for fourth senior sister's whereabouts immediately. Brother Long, stay here for a few more days. Since the Lord of Thundercloud Fortress is dead, I think the Tiangang realm is going to change. Yi Luan said solemnly, you can handle matters here. Long Yu nodded. I'll talk to my mother first. Go. Yi Luan nodded, then looked at the beautiful woman beside him, Xiao Yu. Yi Luan originally had some fantasies about Xiao Yu, but when Thundercloud Fortress's chief alchemist Che Yunlong died, Xiao Yu couldn't help but cry and even wanted to run out to save Che Yunlong. This made Yi Luan completely lose hope in Xiao Yu. He recognized the reality that Xiao Yu was just a woman sent by Che Yunlong to charm him. You can leave. In the end, Yi Luan chose to let Xiao Yu leave. Following Yi Luan's words, Gu Jun and Gu Yan released Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu turned around and left without any hesitation. Long Yu, Bei Yu Yao, and Dou Zicheng went to the courtyard where he used to stay in Yellow Sand Sky City. Mother, this is the 100 Refinement 5 Elements pill. Take it. Long Yu took out the 100 Refinement 5 Elements pill from the dragon scale space of the 9 underworlds and handed it to Bei Yu Yao. Okay. Bei Yu Yao received the pill with a heavy heart. This was because Long Yu had already said that Wang Changfeng had snatched it from Xiao Ziji. Wang Changfeng had later died because of Deputy Palace Master Zhao's dirty tricks. Little Long, you said that City Lord Xia, Palace Lord Ling, and Court Master Ling Hu are all in the Dragon Bone Tower now. Dou Zicheng asked with a slight frown. That's right. Long Yu nodded. I don't know when they'll come out. Maybe they'll come out when I leave. You're leaving? Bei Yu Yao was taken aback. Yes. Long Yu nodded. Actually, there's one thing that I haven't made public. I've already passed the Great Selection, and someone will come to pick me up and take me to the outside world. Mother, you have to take care of yourself during this period. Just stay in Yellow Sand Sky City and recuperate. I'll be back to avenge Senior Wang Changfeng soon. Pass the Great Selection and go to the outside world. Dou Zicheng and Bei Yu Yao were pleasantly surprised. That's great. That's right. I won't forget, Father. I already have a plan for the Heaven Prison Thunderbolt Pool. Long Yu nodded and said, don't be too impulsive. Bei Yu Yao hurriedly said, the Heaven Prison Thunderbolt Pool is too dangerous. It's best not to go in without absolute confidence. Take care of yourself, okay? As a mother, Bei Yu Yao naturally didn't want her son to take risks. Long Yu glanced at Bei Yu Yao and saw something in her eyes. He hurriedly said, Mother, don't go into the Heaven Prison Thunderbolt Pool by yourself. I've already asked someone from the outside world to help. There will be results soon. You just need to rest here and recuperate. Help from the outside world? Bei Yu Yao and Dou Zicheng looked at each other and saw a trace of surprise in each other's eyes. Chapter 447. Since Bei Yu Yao and Dou Zicheng were going to stay in Yellow Sand City, Long Yu had to inform Sha Yuantian in advance. Before that, Long Yu also saw Man Xian, Yin Huanma, and Tian Yutian. They had left the Northern Academy of Revelation and obviously couldn't go back. However, the three of them didn't want to stay in Yellow Sand City. I have to go back to the ancient Meng Kingdom to protect my tribe. Man Xian felt guilty. Since I joined the Northern Academy of Revelation, I have only been back twice in 2 years. Although the ancient Meng Kingdom has been very respectful to my tribe because of me, there are still incidents of bullying. The little prince of the ancient Meng Kingdom, Meng Duo Kai, is also in Yellow Sand City. Long Yu thought of something and reminded him. Haha, Meng Duo Kai is no match for me now. Man Xian laughed heartily and patted Long Yu on the shoulder. Brother Long, Thanks to you, my blade technique has been perfected, and I have comprehended it to the transcendent level. I have also practiced a few martial arts techniques from the Northern Academy of Heavenly Mandate. Even though there is a huge gap between us, I have no problem dealing with Mendakai. That's good, but it is better to be careful. Long Yu nodded. I will also go back to the Tang Kingdom to see how my friends from the Jintian clan are doing. Yin Huanma also gently combed his hair and said, Your brother, Yin Xing. Long Yu frowned slightly and thought of the Kanglan sword sect's genius, Yin Xing, who he still couldn't deal with. I am no match for him now. He is already in the heavenly flower realm, and I am still in the human initial realm. Yin Huanma was a little regretful, but his eyes were still full of determination. However, I will surpass him one day. In addition, the Great Selection is approaching, and I want to give it a try. Long Yu didn't object to Yin Huanma's plan. He wanted to kill Yin Xing directly, but the current situation didn't allow it. Now, Yin Xing should have taken care of the remaining beasts and returned to the Kanglan sword sect. Even though Long Yu's strength had increased tremendously and even defeated Yu Wanliang unexpectedly, it was still impossible for him to barge into the Azure Water Sword sect alone. Before leaving the Heavenly Mandate continent, or rather, before leaving the Heavenly Mandate island, Long Yu still had a lot of things to do. However, with his current strength, he was still unable to accomplish these things. For example, he had killed Yin Xing and the 9 Heavenly Star Palaces' Vice Palace Master Xiao. These were far from what he, a mere Hua realm cultivator, could do. In order to protect Beiyu Yao, Do Zicheng, Yi Luan, and the others who were still in Yellow Sand City, Long Yu would definitely have Sha Yuan Tian and the 2 great elders leave the ancient Dragon Bone Tower and return. Due to the exotic beast tide, the various major forces had suffered heavy losses. Among them, the Thundercloud Fortress had lost 3 of its fortress lords in the process of exterminating the exotic beasts. It could be said that the Thundercloud Fortress was on the brink of decline. On the side of the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Institute, the losses were the heaviest. Although the chief of the institute and the 2 elders were unharmed, their territory was hit by the outbreak of the exotic beast tide. They lost countless weapons, elixirs, martial arts techniques, herbs, and so on. Among them, the Western Institute of the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Institute had been completely wiped out. Not a single person was left alive. These losses were enough for the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Institute to no longer be divided into 5 institutes. They could only unite as one. The 9 Heavenly Star Palace had lost a Vice Palace Master and an elder like Xiao Ziji. The Azure Water Sword sect had lost an elder in charge of rewards and punishments. The Chess Soul Valley had lost a Chess Soul in the Heavenly Calamity Realm. The strength of these 3 major sects had also been greatly reduced. Of the 7 major forces in the Heavenly Dipper Realm, only Yellow Sand City and Glaze Palace still had their full strength. Moreover, these 2 forces had only suffered minor losses. It was impossible to say that they had not suffered any losses at all, especially in Yellow Sand City. When the exotic beast tide broke out, Yu Wenliang had just launched a sinister plot. However, he had encountered the variable Long Yu, which led to his own death. Cultivators in the Heavenly Hua realm, like Yu Wenliang, were also rare. The Yellow Sand City had also suffered many losses. City Lord Sha, there is something I need to tell you in private. Long Yu's consciousness entered the Dragon Bone Ancient Tower and transmitted a message to Sha Yuantian, who was resting with his eyes closed. The voice was so soft that only Sha Yuantian heard it. He did not open his eyes and only nodded slightly, indicating that he had heard it. After that, Long Yu told Sha Yuantian about the internal strife in Yellow Sand Sky City, and then he said, "Now that all the major powers have suffered heavy losses, you can act as you see fit once you return. However, you must guarantee the safety of my mother and the others." Sha Yuantian frowned slightly when he heard this. Clearly, he couldn't understand why Long Yu was able to return to Yellow Sand Sky City and kill Yu Wenliang. Sha Yuantian had always thought highly of Yi Luan. Although he admired Yu Wenliang's talent, he was still not as good as Yi Luan. Now that Yu Wenliang wanted to frame Yi Luan and was killed by Long Yu, He did not feel that it was inappropriate. He just felt that it was a pity. However, shouldn't Long Yu still be dealing with the exotic beasts in the Northern Academy of the Mandate Realm, surrounded by the exotic beasts tied together with the Dragon Bone Ancient Tower? How could he return to Yellow Sand City? The exotic beast tide has been resolved. However, don't tell anyone about it for the time being, City Lord Sha. Long Yu transmitted a message to Sha Yuantian. We can take advantage of this opportunity to make some arrangements. Sha Yuantian nodded slowly. He immediately realized that this was an excellent opportunity for development. Yellow Sand City had developed the shortest time in the heavenly realm. Among the 7 major forces, it had always been the weakest. However, if they could make good use of this opportunity, they might be able to become the leader of the 7 major forces in the heavenly realm. At least, they could defeat the Thundercloud Fortress first. In that case, all the resources in the Thundercloud Fortress could be plundered, which was no joke. As for me, I have passed the selection ahead of time. I must leave here. City Lord Sha, I hope that I will not hear of any accidents happening to my mother or other friends before I come back. Long Yu transmitted a message to Sha Yuantian with a smile. Hearing this news, Sha Yuantian was stunned at first, but then he was overjoyed. This kid had passed the selection ahead of time. This was too surprising. So, the resolution of the exotic beast tide had something to do with the people from the outside world. The doubts in Sha Yuantian's mind were finally somewhat resolved. Moreover, Sha Yuantian was very pleased that Long Yu had been chosen and taken away by the people from the outside world. He had always admired Long Yu. Although he had failed to deal with Deputy Palace Lord Xiao, as Long Yu had said the last moment of exterminating the exotic beast tide, everything else was clear for all to see. If Long Yu could rise in the end, it would definitely be an extremely good thing for Yellow Sand Sky City. One must know that among the 7 major powers of the Heavenly Dipper Realm, Long Yu is definitely the one with the closest relationship with Yellow Sand Sky City. After giving these instructions, Long Yu's consciousness left the ancient Dragon Bone Tower. After a while, Sha Yuantian came out of the ancient Dragon Bone Tower alone. As for the other cultivators in the Divine Tribulation Realm, they were still waiting bitterly in the ancient Dragon Bone Tower. They still did not know that the exotic beast tide had been defeated. Ha! Brother Long, you are indeed a young hero. You resolved the crisis of the entire Heavenly Mandate continent with a wave of your hand. Impressive, impressive. The black-haired old man, Sha Yuantian, saw Long Yu as soon as he came out and could not help but laugh. This must be Brother Long's family and friends, right? Then, Sha Yuantian looked at Yan Huanma, Man Exen, Beiyu Yao, and the others gathered at the side and said with a serious expression, Brother Long, don't worry. Since your family and friends are in Yellow Sand City, they will definitely be fine. There are still some despicable people in Yellow Sand City now. Long Yu said, those who harm their fellow disciples will be killed without mercy. A fierce look flashed in Sha Yuantian's eyes when he said this. I have long said that if they want to deal with our own people, they have to go through me. I didn't expect those bastards to really take advantage of my absence to attack our own people. I've already killed Yu Wenyang, as well as Zhu Tao, Qi Ziguang, and the others. Long Yu frowned slightly. If all their henchmen are eliminated, the strength of Yellow Sand City will drop a lot. It doesn't matter. Sha Yuantian waved his hand. In such a situation, he certainly knew what to do. If it were in normal times, I would be a little reluctant to do so. But now, since we have the opportunity to rob Thundercloud Fortress, it is not difficult to cultivate more talents. If we don't kill these people with evil intentions, it will be difficult to clean up the atmosphere of our Sand City. The City Lord is so bold. Long Yu finally smiled. He knew that when the news that he was chosen by the people from the outside realm was known to Sha Yuantian, then Sha Yuantian would have to obey his words. Because soon, Long Yu would have the power to overturn the situation of the entire Heavenly Mandate continent. Sha Yuantian still longed for the mysterious and powerful people from the outside realm. Unfortunately, he had no chance to meet them. Only if he could enter the secret realm in his lifetime could he leave the Heavenly Mandate continent and go to the outside realm. However, This was an extremely difficult task. After that, Long Yu didn't do anything. He went to visit the injured Yi Luan, and then he heard the news that the city governor of Sha Yuan Heaven was infuriated by Yu Wenliang's rebellion and had killed all the people involved, including his personal disciples Zhu Tao and Qi Ziguang. Sha Yintian's means could be said to be ruthless, but his ruthlessness was not only directed at his own people. This black-haired old man was very bold. As soon as he returned to Yellow Sand City, he immediately united all the people in the city. And because they knew that the Lord of Thundercloud Fortress was dead, they suddenly became ambitious. This was also the situation that Long Yu wanted to see. Elder Wang, Long Yu silently thought in his heart, in the past, you were the fort master of the Thundercloud Fortress. However, the position of fort master was usurped by Fei Yadu Sun and the others. Now that your 3 traitorous disciples are dead, let this Thundercloud Fortress disappear with the wind. He would use the destruction of Thundercloud Fortress as a memorial to Wang Chongfeng, who had gone to the Heavenly Kingdom. Long Yu was happy to see the plan that Sha Yuantian proposed on behalf of Sand City. Robbing Thundercloud Fortress was really not bad for Long Yu. Chapter 448. Sha Yuantian quickly led a large group of people out. As long as he was a heavenly tribulation expert, it would be extremely easy to deal with the leaderless Thundercloud Fortress. As for the 2 supreme elders of Yellow Sand Sky City, they remained in the Dragon Bone Ancient Tower and did not come out for the time being. The 2 listened to Sha Yuntian's words and stayed in the ancient Dragon Bone Tower to confuse Ling Zhiping, Ling Hu, Qianyan, and the others. This was to prevent them from noticing anything amiss and running out on their own. No one would disregard their own life. This was especially true for heavenly tribulation experts like Ling Zhiping and Ling Hu, Qianyan. Before confirming that the exotic beast swarm had retreated, it was impossible for them to take the risk of leaving the Dragon Bone Tower. There's news of Senior Sister He. Not long after Sha Yuantian left, someone on Yi Luan's side got the news of He Qinxue, which made Long Yu and Yi Luan quite excited. Long Yu had quite a good impression of He Qinxue. At the very least, this woman had been protecting him during the process of fighting against the exotic beast swarm. In the end, she fell into Yu Wenliang's hands and disappeared without a trace. Where is 4th senior sister? Yi Luan couldn't care less about the fact that he had yet to fully recover from his injuries. He stood up and asked the messenger. He was brought to the Tiansha forest. I heard that there are a few Tianhua realm elites from other sects watching over him. The newcomer immediately said, Skyflower realm cultivators from other sects? Yi Luan frowned slightly when he heard this. Let's go to the Tiansha forest. Long Yu said bluntly. But, Brother Long, even you wouldn't be able to handle a group of Tianhua realm cultivators like you and Liang, right? Yi Luan was a little worried. Let's talk as we walk. First, tell me what kind of place is the Tiansha forest? Long Yu did not answer him. Since He Qinxue had been caught in the Tiansha forest, he would go and rescue her. Even if he was no match for them, he could think of other ways to save them. Fighting them head-on was not the only way to save them. Seeing that Long Yu was determined, Yi Luan nodded his head in agreement and began to explain the situation in Tiansha forest. The Heavenly Fiend Forest was located in the 42nd layer of the Heavenly Dipper realm. It occupied a vast area, and there were many herbs growing in the forest, as well as materials used to refine combat weapons. Therefore, it was a famous treasure hunting ground in the Heavenly Dipper realm. Cultivators from the 7 major powers and other Heavenly Dipper realm loved to come here to search for treasures and increase their strength. In the past, the conflicts between the Yellow Sand Heavenly City and the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Institute, the Yellow Sand Heavenly City and the Thundercloud Fortress, and so on were mostly caused by the conflict between their disciples in the evil Heaven Forest. The people of the Thundercloud Fortress had once hunted down the people of the other forces in the Heaven Fiend Forest, infuriating the heavens and the people. Because of this, the other 6 forces did not have a good impression of the Thundercloud Fortress. Near the Tiansha Forest, there was a Tiansha city. It was not a big city, much smaller than Yellow Sand City, but it was the only place near the Tian Sha forest where one could stay. After Long Yu entered the Runhua realm, it was not difficult for him to break through the 42nd level of the Celestial Spirit Shield alone. Soon, he and Yi Luan arrived at the 42nd level of the Celestial Spirit Shield. After a few hours, Long Yu and Yi Luan quietly arrived at the Tiansha city. Long Yu looked into the distance and saw a layer of dark aura floating above the Tiansha city. The closer they got to the Tiansha forest, the thicker the dark aura became. This place is not bad. If you're lucky, you could get a lot of things in it. Long Yu was flying forward when he suddenly heard a familiar female voice, giggling. Shu-chan, why are you here? Long Yu knew that it was the Azura princess, Shu-chan, who was following him. But with his cultivation, he could not find any trace of Shu-chan. He murmured casually. Yi Luan could not hear him, but he knew that Shu-chan must be able to hear him. I have to follow you. If you suddenly run away, I will lose a free laborer. The laughter of the Azura princess, Shu-chan, continued to reach Long Yu's ears, which made Long Yu a little puzzled. This Shu-chan was really like a lingering spirit that refused to go away. But this was not bad. At least when he encountered danger, he had some protection, although Shu-chan would not attack other people on the Heavenly Mandate continent. If Long Yu was in danger, she could save Long Yu. In this way, at least she could ensure Long Yu's safety. The informant said that Yuan Liang worked with other sects and forces to kidnap Fourth Sister. The closer they got to Tiansha City, the more nervous Yi Luan became. Yin Xing, the genius of the Kanglin Sword sect, and a warrior of the Heavenly Mandate realm from the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Institute. So the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Institute is also involved. Long Yu narrowed his eyes. He did not expect Yuan Liang to have connections with so many forces. He really had a wide range of connections. Unfortunately, in the face of absolute power, no matter how wide Yuan Liang's connections were, they could not save him. Brother Yi, it's about time. Let's enter the ancient tower and go straight to the 3rd floor. Long Yu activated the dragon scale of Juyo, condensed the power of space, and let Yi Luan directly enter the 3rd floor of the Dragon Bone Ancient Tower. Then he used the hidden divine rune and quietly flew into the ancient Tiansha City. Although Tiansha City was not as big as Yellow Sand Sky City, it had a longer history than Yellow Sand Sky City. It had existed for hundreds of years and had always been a resting place for martial arts practitioners who went to the Tiansha forest to explore. In other words, this was the gathering place for martial arts practitioners in the Tiangang realm. Even the disciples of the 7 major forces would temporarily stay in Tiansha City when they came to the Tiansha forest. Long Yu used the power of the hidden divine rune. No one could find him at all, and he easily sneaked into Tiansha City. Fortunately, Tiansha City was not big. Long Yu hid himself and searched around. Soon, he found He Qinshue's traces. At this time, He Qinshui was unconscious in an inn, and in that inn, there were several warriors in the Heavenly Flower realm, frowning and talking about something. Xuanji Shanhai. Long Yu saw Xuanji Shanhai among them at a glance, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. It turned out that Xuanji Shanhai was Yu Wenliang's helper in the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Institute. For Xuanji Shanhai, Long Yu had enough new and old grudges. More than 20 years ago, Bei Yao's Dantian was injured by Xuanji Shanhai, which caused her to be unable to break through the martial arts realm for so many years. During the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Selection, Xuanji Shanhai repeatedly schemed against Long Yu, almost causing Long Yu to die in the process of the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Selection. Now, he actually joined forces with others to kidnap He Qinshui. Long Yu did not act rashly. Although he could easily sneak in and take He Qinshui away, he would also be discovered by these people. At that time, it would not be easy to escape. If possible, Long Yu wanted to scheme against one of them first, and the rest would be much easier to deal with. Therefore, Long Yu hid himself outside the inn. Although he was less than 10 feet away from Xuanji Shanhai, the other party could not feel the existence of Long Yu at all. It had to be said that the power of the hidden divine rune that Wang Chongfeng taught Long you as very useful. What bad luck. I thought that if I went to the Thundercloud Fortress and other people, a big battle would break out, and we would be able to take the Dragon Bone Tower from that kid in one fell swoop. I didn't expect. Xuanji Shanhai and the other three sat at the same table and seemed to be very puzzled. Sitting opposite him was the Azure Water Sword Sex genius, Yin Xing, who was wearing a white robe. At this time, he said indifferently, "But the current situation is not bad. Yuan Liang should have succeeded. If the plan is successful, Sha Yuan Tian should be dead." When Yuan Liang takes control of the entire Yellow Sand Sky City, we can openly join forces and establish a new force. When these words were said, Long Yu, who was eavesdropping at the side, suddenly came to a realization. This Yin Xing, Xuanji Shanhai, Yuan Liang, and the others' ambition was not just to be the fourth-generation city lord of Yellow Sand Sky City, but to establish a new force. This caused Long Yu to be taken aback. I just don't know where the Dragon Bone Tower is now, and if it was obtained by Xiao Xuanlong as planned. The other person was wearing the light blue clothing of Nine Heaven Star Palace. Obviously, he was a young genius from Nine Heaven Star Palace. He looked to be in his 20s, but he had also entered the Heavenly Flower realm and was extremely talented. And the Xiao Xuanlong he mentioned was the Deputy Palace Lord of Nine Heaven Star Palace. Deputy Palace Lord Xiao was also Xiao Zaji's grandfather. It's funny that Xiao Zaji was so careless that he was actually crippled by an old madman, so we can only find his grandfather. But his grandfather is after all an old guy in the Divine Tribulation realm. With him around, we will have a lot of benefits. Xuanji Shanhai said bitterly, "A treasure like the Dragon Bone Tower can only be controlled by geniuses like us. Only then can we lead the martial arts practitioners of the Heavenly Mandate continent to the outside world." I just don't know how the exotic beast tide is now. The remaining person was wearing a black robe and had the power of thunder and lightning all over his body. He should be a young genius from Thundercloud Fortress. This exotic beast tide is an opportunity for us. But if we don't handle it well, the entire Heavenly Mandate continent will really be in danger. Don't worry. With the Dragon Bone Tower and so many cultivators in the Divine Tribulation realm, what can mere exotic beasts do to them? The white-robed Yin Xing laughed coldly. What the Genius Alliance needs to do is to deal with the aftermath and control the Dragon Bone Tower. The Genius Alliance. Long Yu hid at the side. Hearing this, he finally understood why these people had gathered together. There's actually a Genius Alliance. Long Yu wanted to laugh. These guys thought that they had enough talent and could lead the forces of the entire Heavenly Mandate continent, but they didn't know that things were not going according to their plan. The sad thing was that this so-called Genius Alliance didn't even dare to send people to observe the situation of the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Institute. The reason was, of course, that they were afraid of being swallowed by the exotic beast tide. The funny thing was that this so-called group of geniuses was actually still scheming to obtain the Dragon Bone Tower and control the Heavenly Mandate continent. It seems that the Genius Alliance is an organization formed by a group of ambitious and blind people. Long Yu listened to them and shook his head. Chapter 449. Even though Long Yu had only comprehended 1/10 of the power of the hidden divine rune, none of the members of the Genius Alliance who had gathered here were able to discover Long Yu's existence. Long Yu had already observed the surrounding environment. There were many Jianghu martial practitioners in the inn. If he released the true spirit of the dragon of the 9 underworlds, he could kill one of the 4 people from the Genius Alliance with lightning speed, but it wouldn't make much sense. Why don't we save He Qinxue and go straight to the Heaven Fiend Forest? Long Yu was rather concerned about Shu Chan's words. Since Shu Chan had said that there were some opportunities in the Heaven Fiend Forest, then he would go and see if there were any gains. Then, he didn't pay attention to the conversation of the 4 Heaven Flower Realm cultivators in the Genius Alliance. Instead, he went straight upstairs and jumped into the room where He Qinxue was through the window. At this moment, the beautiful woman in blue was lying unconscious on the bed. No one knew what was going on. Long Yu jumped into the room, picked up He Qin Xue, and flew out the window. It's just a normal coma. It's okay. Long Yu quickly checked He Qin Xue's condition and breathed a sigh of relief. But the moment he picked up He Qin Xue, the effect of his hidden divine rune immediately weakened. This caused the 4 members of the Genius Alliance who were talking downstairs to notice the abnormality in the room. There's a situation. Chase. Xuanji Shanhai's expression changed slightly. He got up and chased out of the inn. The black dragon sparrow wings on Long Yu's back spread out. He used the dragon sparrow instant flight and suddenly burst out with terrifying speed. He was like a black stream of light streaking across the sky of Heaven Fiend City. Many Jianghu martial practitioners looked at him strangely. They were quite envious of Long Yu's speed. Everyone knew that in the Heavenly Dipper realm, flying speed was too important. As long as one had the advantage of speed, whether it was escaping or chasing, it would be much easier and more convenient. When Long Yu activated the Dragon Sparrow instant space, no one in Tiansha City would be able to catch up with him. Therefore, even if Xuanji, Shanhai, and the others sensed that something was wrong, when they went to the room and found that He Qin Xue had been rescued by someone, and when they caught up, they were already getting further and further away from Long Yu. Among them, Xuanji Shanhai took the lead, trailing far behind Long Yu, thousands of feet away. He didn't go back to his room to check. Instead, he chased after them, which was why he was flying at the front. Behind Xuanji Shanhai, Yin Xing and the 2 Heaven Flower Tier geniuses from the 9 Heaven Star Palace and the Thundercloud Fortress flew together and followed Xuanji Shanhai a few hundred meters behind him. As they were too far away, Yin Xing and the others were unable to see Long Yu's figure. They could only follow Xuanji Shanhai. Being alone at the front is exactly what I want. When Long Yu saw Xuanji Shanhai catching up, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. He could find an opportunity to kill Xuanji Shanhai directly. However, when Long Yu tried to release the dragon of the 9 Underworld Real Spirit, he suddenly found something wrong. The dragon of the 9 Underworld Real Spirit in his Dantian was in a semi-dormant state at this moment and could not be released directly. This made Long Yu quite puzzled. If he could not release the dragon of the 9 Underworld Real Spirit, then he had no chance of winning against Xuanji Shanhai, who was in the Heaven Flower Tier. Moreover, there were 3 other people chasing after Xuanji Shanhai. It seems that I can only run. Long Yu shook his head, and a black dragon sparrow shadow appeared behind him. It seemed to be integrated with his body, allowing his speed to increase again. The dragon sparrow instant space could only be used for a moment to increase his speed. If he wanted to accelerate after that, he could only summon the dragon sparrow shadow. It had to be said that the effect of cultivating a transcendent grade, dark-level martial skill to the Great Perfection realm was very terrifying. It was much stronger than when it was at the Minor or Great Perfection realm. Take the Dragon Sparrow Dance, for example. The speed that Long Yu could maintain now was more than 3 times the speed that he could maintain when he was at the Minor or Great Perfection realm. Even Xuanji Shanhai, whose martial Dao realm was 3 levels higher than Long Yu's, wanting to catch up to Long Yu was absolutely not an easy task. It's that kid, Long Yu. He's back. Xuanji Shanhai, who was at the front, quickly identified Long Yu's identity and sent the news back to Yin Xing and the other 2. Yin Xing and the other 2 exchanged glances and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. Long Yu had actually appeared here. What about the ancient Dragon Bone Tower? What about the other Heavenly Tribulation Realm experts? No matter what, we must capture him and find out the whereabouts of the ancient Dragon Bone Tower. If it's still in his hands, we'll snatch it. The black-robed young genius from Thundercloud Castle said with a gloomy expression. Until now, they still had no idea how Long Yu and the group of Heavenly Tribulation Realm experts were fending off the beast tide. As the participants, apart from Long Yu, were still trapped in the ancient Dragon Bone Tower, no one in the outside world knew the details of the fight against the beast tide. Moreover, the northern and eastern courtyards of the Heavenly Mandate Academy were still occupied by the beast tide and were in great danger. No one would go to investigate the situation in a short period of time, which made it much easier for Long Yu to act. He's going to enter the murderous forest. Xuanji Shanhai quickly noticed that Long Yu's figure was flying toward the dense murderous forest ahead and immediately transmitted his voice to the people behind him. Hurry up and chase him. Once he enters the murderous forest, it won't be so easy to catch that kid. Yan Xing's face darkened, and he immediately increased his speed in the air. Unfortunately, he was already flying at his fastest speed, and it was impossible for him to speed up at this moment. Xuanji Shanhai could only watch as Long Yu's figure disappeared from the horizon and flew into the dense forest. Although there was no soil in the murderous forest, there were lush trees. These trees were nourished by the five-colored heavenly spirit glow, and their vitality was even more vigorous than the trees growing in the soil. With these trees as cover, it was impossible for Xuanji Shanhai and the others to find traces of him flying into the murderous forest from hundreds of feet away. In the murderous forest, after finding a cover to cover their tracks, Long Yu sent Yi Luan out of the ancient Dragon Bone Tower. After all, Yi Luan was definitely more familiar with the murderous forest than he was. No one knew what existed in the murderous forest, and Long Yu did not want to suddenly run into any danger and die without even knowing how. In the murderous forest, the vitality of the trees is extremely terrifying. You could try to destroy that tree trunk. Yi Luan smiled and pointed to a giant tree at the side. Long Yu did not pay much attention to it. However, since Yi Luan had said so, he would give a try. He took a look at the trunk of the giant tree and raised his hand to blast it with the royal water whirlpool. 9 water whirlpools swept out violently and instantly blasted on the trunk. If it was an ordinary giant tree, even a casual punch from Long Yu would be able to smash it into pieces, not to mention the 9 water whirlpools. However, the giant tree in front of Long Yu only had a few cracks under the bombardment of the 9 water whirlpools. Those cracks were still recovering at an extremely fast speed after the power of the royal water whirlpool was withdrawn. Impressive. Long Yu could not help but be moved. This was the first time he had seen such a vigorous plant. It seemed that what Yi Luan had said was right. After passing through the periphery of the murderous forest, these trees will intertwine and intertwine. If you want to enter the depths of the murderous forest, you can only pass through the narrow path of 3 jumps. Yi Luan continued, no one can break through the natural wall formed by the trees. Even a heavenly tribulation realm powerhouse cannot destroy those trees with one move. Then let's go to the depths of the murderous forest to take a look. Long Yu's eyes lit up. The trees in this place are so lush and full of vitality. Maybe there are some treasures in the depths of the murderous forest. Many people think so, but no one has discovered anything. Yi Luan spread his hands and shook his head helplessly. How are you going to deal with the pursuers behind us? We don't have to deal with them personally. Long Yu shook his head. The matter of the exotic beast tide has been kept under wraps until now. I'm afraid that many people have already discovered that the exotic beasts have all been exterminated. Since that's the case, our Sand City's 2 Grand Elders should come out first. Since he couldn't release the Dragon of 9 Underworld's true spirit, there was no need for Long Yu to deal with Xuanji Shanhai, Yan Xing, and the other 2. You mean to let first Elder Sun and second Elder Sun deal with the 4 pursuers? Yi Luan was stunned for a moment before he said with a joyful expression, That's a good idea. Brother Yi, it seems like I'm lucky that I'm not your enemy. It seems like all your enemies die very miserably. I've never thought of provoking others, but there are always some blind people who want to deal with me. In that case, I won't let them be so arrogant. Long Yu smiled faintly, because they were afraid that Long Yu would use the ancient dragon skeleton pagoda to deal with them. Xuanji Shanhai, Yan Xing, and the 2 young geniuses from 9 Heavenly Stars Palace and Thundercloud Fortress teamed up and entered the murderous forest. They had originally planned to search for Long Yu everywhere, but they didn't expect to see Long Yu standing alone in front of them as soon as they entered the murderous forest. He was squinting his eyes and waiting for them. This scene made Xuanji Shanhai and the other 3's heartbeat speed up. Be careful. Xuanji Shanhai became even more cautious. He didn't believe that Long Yu would just stand there and let them kill him. Since Long Yu was standing there and didn't escape, there were only two possibilities. First, he felt that he couldn't escape from the four of them, so he wanted to surrender. Second, he had his own trump card and wasn't afraid of the four of them at all. No matter how Xuanji Shanhai thought about it, he felt that the second possibility was more likely. Very soon, his guess was confirmed. Behind the four of them, two old men quietly appeared. They exuded the terrifying aura of the heavenly tribulation realm. They were Yellow Sand Sky City's first Elder Son and second Elder Son. Chapter 450. Xuanji, Shanhai, Yinxing, and the others exchanged glances and saw the intention to retreat in each other's eyes. First Elder Son and second Elder Son were both Heavenly Tribulation Realm powerhouses. They weren't people that Heaven Flower Realm cultivators could fight against. Even though there were four of them, it was still impossible. The only thing they could do now was to escape separately. As for who would be left behind, it was up to fate. The moment First Elder Son and Second Elder Son appeared, Xuanji, Shanhai, and Yinxing fled in four different directions as fast as they could. Among them, Xuanji and Shanhai went to the left, Yinxing went to the right, and a young genius from the Nine Heaven Star Palace flew into the sky. As for the last genius from the Thundercloud Castle, he dashed towards Long Yu in black. He actually wanted to capture Long Yu and use Long Yu as a hostage. Smart. Long Yu laughed. He had to admit that the black-robed genius from the Thundercloud Castle was very smart. Now that the four of them were surrounded by First Elder Son and Second Elder Son, at least two of them would be captured. If they wanted to ensure that they wouldn't be captured, the only way was to capture Long Yu. However, this fellow from the Thundercloud Castle had underestimated Long Yu's strength. Hidden divine text. The power of Long Yu's divine text spread out. At the same time, he erupted with the speed of the Dragon Sparrow instant space. Instead of retreating, he advanced towards Second Elder Son. The black-robed youth from the Thundercloud Castle lost track of Long Yu in an instant, causing his expression to change slightly. However, in the next moment, Second Elder Son flew straight towards the black-robed youth from the Thundercloud Castle because he was worried about Long Yu. He opened his hand, and a Tyrannosaurus of sand roared and swallowed the black-robed youth. In the face of being captured by a Heavenly Tribulation Realm powerhouse, the black-robed youth from the Thundercloud Castle wasn't to be outdone. He turned around and spat out a mouthful of lightning. The tyrannical nomological power of the Earth Seal, Heaven Steel, rumbled out, and lightning immediately filled his body. As a Tianhua Realm elite, this black-robed youth from the Thundercloud Fortress was definitely very strong. He was even stronger than Yuan Liang, whom Long Yu had killed by surprise. Unfortunately, he was facing Second Elder Son, who was in the Heavenly Tribulation Realm. A Heavenly Tribulation Realm expert who was in the middle of a Heavenly Tribulation was much stronger than a Heavenly Flower Realm cultivator. Facing the black-robed youth's lightning, the Tyrannosaurus of sand only needed to bite down, and the lightning was completely enveloped in the yellow sand, annihilating it. "Go!" Second Elder Son shouted sternly. With a pull of his hand, he manipulated the Tyrannosaurus of sand to bind the black-robed young man from the Thundercloud Fortress tightly and bring him back to his side. It was also at this moment that Long Yu's figure once again appeared beside Second Elder Son. He looked at the black-robed youth from Thundercloud Fortress with a smile on his face. "You're very powerful, but unfortunately, you've underestimated me. Since I've appeared before you, how could I be easily taken as a hostage by you?" Long Yu smiled faintly. "Second Elder Son, can you still catch up to the others?" They ran too fast, and they ran into the Heavenly Fiend Forest. "I'm afraid it'll be very difficult to find where they are now." Second Elder Son raised his gray eyebrows and shook his head. As expected of the young geniuses of this generation, every single one of them has an extraordinary reaction. It's really surprising. Long Yu felt that it was a pity, but he could only nod. "Forget it, then." On the other side, Great Elder Sun had captured the young genius from the Nine Heaven Star Palace and flew to Long Yu and Second Elder Sun's side. What should we do with these two? The young genius from a Nine Heaven Star Palace who had been captured by him was in a sorry state. All the celestial chi in his body had been completely suppressed, and he could not use even a little bit of it. While we were fighting against the beast tide, these so-called geniuses were thinking about how to deal with us and snatch something from our hands. What's the point of keeping people like that? If they grow up, they'll become even more of a threat. A cold glint flashed in Long Yu's eyes. Elders, I have no enmity with the two of you. Our Nine Heaven Star Palace also has no conflict with Yellow Sand Sky City. Why don't you let us go? We'll definitely thank you in the future. How about it? The young genius from the Nine Heaven Star Palace suddenly said. Your so-called thank you in the future is probably waiting for you to step into the heavenly tribulation realm and settle the score with me, right? Great Elder Sun sneered. Second Elder, do it. There's no need to keep such people alive. You really dare to kill me? If the Nine Heaven Star Palace's Palace Lord finds out, he'll definitely make your Yellow Sand Sky City restless. The young genius from a Nine Heaven Star Palace was instantly shocked and furious as he glared at Great Elder Sun. You still want to use the Nine Heaven Star Palace to suppress me? Long Yu snorted coldly. I haven't even settled the score with Xiao Xuanlong, and you've already thrown yourself at me. It seems like there aren't many good people in the Nine Heaven Star Palace. You! The young genius glared as he turned around to look at Long Yu, and his face was filled with rage. However, before he could say anything, Grand Elder Sun had already made a move. Grand Elder Sun directly slapped his palm down onto his back and shattered his heart and dantian. Blood immediately flowed from the corner of the young genius' mouth. Before he could say anything, he collapsed to the ground. Second Elder Sun paid no attention to the young genius from Thundercloud Fortress who begged for mercy, and he directly slapped the young genius to death. Long Yu couldn't help but sigh when he saw the fate of the two young geniuses. At the same time, he became alert. No matter how talented he was, he couldn't be too arrogant and domineering. Otherwise, only death would await him in front of stronger people. Staying alert was the most basic requirement to climb the martial Tao. If one lost their vigilance, they would fall one day no matter how talented they were. Thank you, elders. It's a pity that Yin Xing and Xuanji Shanhai escaped. Long Yu thanked the two elders politely. You're welcome, Brother Long. Great Elder Sun chuckled. It's all thanks to you that we were able to repel the beast tide. You've even helped our Yellow Sand Sky City this time. If you have any problems in the future, you can come to us directly. I just hope you won't look down on us two old men. The two elders obviously knew that Long Yu had been chosen by someone from the outside world. That was why they were so polite and helped Long Yu to ambush the four young Heavenflower Realm experts without hesitation. Xuanji Shanhai and Yin Xing ran into the Tiansha forest. Brother Long, why don't you come back with us? These two so-called geniuses won't amount to much. We'll have plenty of opportunities to deal with them. Second Elder Sun raised his gray-white eyebrows and asked with a smile. It's fine. Elders, please go back first. All right, bring Brother Yi and He Qinxue with you. Long Yu called out. Yi Luan brought He Qinxue, who had already woken up, out of the shadows of some entangled tree roots and flew up to greet the two elders. You want to enter the Tiansha forest alone? Great Elder Sun frowned and asked. That's right. Don't worry, elders. Long Yu smiled and said, even if there's danger, I can still call for a few people from the ancient pagoda to help me fend them off. Brother Long, we can't influence your decision. However, in the Tiansha forest, you have to be careful, especially with Yin Xing and Xuanji Shanhai in there. Don't give them any chances. Second Elder Sun said solemnly. Rest assured, elders. I know what to do. Long Yu said calmly. Then we'll leave first. Great Elder Sun nodded. Long Yu. He Qinxue looked at Long Yu, wanting to say something but hesitating. Sister He, what's wrong? Long Yu glanced at her with a smile on his face. Without waiting for Long Yu to react, He Qinxue actually pounced towards him, her delicate and pretty little mouth instantly imprinted on Long Yu's face. Thank you. I heard from Little Yi that you risked being chased by 4 cultivators in the Tianhua realm to save me. He Qinshua's delicate face was slightly flushed. After saying this, she turned around and left with the 2 elders. Don't worry about it. I haven't thanked you for protecting me during the beast tide. Long Yu touched the part of his face that was kissed and couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. Actually, without my protection, nothing would have happened to you. He Qinshu said faintly, then waved her hand and said, Goodbye. I hope to see you again in the future. I will see you again. Long Yu affirmed in his heart, but he didn't say it out loud. He Qinshu kissed him just like that. She was the first girl to do so after coming to the Heavenly Mandate continent. Of course, he understood what she meant. It was a pity that Long Yu had to leave the Heavenly Mandate continent now and couldn't give He Qinshu any response. Brother Long, take care. You can come back to the Sand City before you leave. Before Yilin left, he probably knew that Long Yu wanted to take this opportunity to leave, so he said this as a farewell. I'll try my best. Long Yu touched his nose. He really couldn't give her such a guarantee. The Azura princess, Shu Chan, said that there were some opportunities in the Tiansha forest. Whether or not Long Yu could get these opportunities, he had to leave with Shu Chan after coming out of the Tiansha forest. It was hard to say whether or not he could go back to the Yellow Sand City before leaving. Seeing the 2 elders disappear in front of him with Yi Luan and He Qinshu, Long Yu knew that he had to go alone for the rest of the journey. Maybe the Azura princess, Shu Chan, would follow him. But if anything happened, the princess would probably not appear to help him. Long Yu couldn't put his hopes on Shu Chan. He had to rely on himself for the rest of the journey. The trees in the Tiansha forest are so luxuriant and have such vitality. There must be some secret hidden in the Tiansha forest. Chapter 451. Long Yu flew all the way into the Heavenly Fiend Forest. The surrounding trees were sturdy, and every single one of them contained an incomparably tyrannical life energy. Let alone the current Long Yu, even a Heavenly Tribulation Realm expert wouldn't be able to completely destroy a single tree in this Heavenly Fiend Forest. Very soon, Long Yu figured out what was going on with the Dragon of 9 Underworld's real spirit. It was most likely in a dormant state and could not be released for the time being. Long Yu estimated that there was still more than half a month before he could release the Dragon of 9 Underworld's real spirit again. I have to sleep for more than half a month every time I release it. It's really delicate. Long Yu was a little puzzled. If that was the case, then even if the current him were to fight against a Tianhua stage expert, he still wouldn't be a match for the other party. This was because the difference in their basic strength was too great. Furthermore, the other party could borrow 10 times the power of the ancient code from the heaven and earth. Yanxing and Xuanji Shanhai did not know where they went and did not appear in front of Long Yu. However, Long Yu still used the hidden divine rune and flew into the depths of the Heavenly Fiend Forest alone. The deeper he went, the denser the surrounding trees became. However, the path that allowed martial practitioners to pass through became narrower and narrower. Not long after, he arrived at the location of the 3 forked paths. Although the Heaven Demon Forest was a forest, the dense and luxuriant forest only left 3 small paths for martial cultivators to traverse. Long Yu looked ahead and saw that the trees grew densely together. Their roots were intertwined and intertwined. There was no force that could separate them. Among these trees, there were only 3 narrow paths that allowed only one person to pass through. These paths led to the depths of the Heavenly Fiend Forest. Even if I go to the depths of the Heavenly Fiend Forest and follow these paths, I'm afraid I won't find anything. After all, the entire Heavenly Fiend Forest must have been searched by the martial practitioners in the Heavenly Dipper world. Long Yu furrowed his brows before turning his gaze towards the seemingly impenetrable entanglement of trees that formed a natural barrier. These trees were intertwined with each other. Perhaps many people had tried to destroy them, but no one had been able to do so. This made Long Yu set his sights on them. Perhaps the secret of the entire Tiansha forest was hidden behind the natural barrier formed by these intertwining trees. From another perspective, the reason why the trees in this Tiansha forest contained so much life energy and were entangled here, forming an incomparably solid natural barrier, was it because the secret was hidden nearby. Long Yu was thinking like this when he suddenly noticed an unusual movement in the 9 nether dragon scale, and his expression couldn't help but change. Immediately after, a figure darted out from the 9 nether dragon scale in his arms and flew in front of him. It was Linghu Qianyan, who was trapped in the ancient dragon skeleton pagoda. Linghu Qianyan was dressed in white and had a long sword on his back. He looked extremely refined. As soon as he appeared, he saw Long Yu and realized the situation around him. His eyes widened. "Young friend Long, why are you in the heavenly fiend forest? Where are those exotic beasts?" It was only then that Long Yu realized that when he stored the ancient dragon skeleton pagoda into the 9 nether dragon scale, those who were trapped in the ancient dragon skeleton pagoda would directly leave the space in the 9 nether dragon scale and come to the outside world. Long Yu and the others were trapped on the first floor of the ancient dragon skeleton pagoda, and the first floor was the only floor they could freely enter and exit. This left Long Yu feeling a little helpless. However, the truth couldn't be concealed any longer. Those people would come out sooner or later. The first one to come out was Linghu Qianyan. This was good news for Long Yu. The exotic beasts have been eliminated. "Court Lord Linghu, please go ahead." Long Yu straightforwardly told him the truth. However, he did not say much. When they were facing the threat of the exotic beasts in the ancient dragon skeleton pagoda, this Linghu Qianyan actually agreed to snatch his ancient dragon skeleton pagoda. This caused Long Yu to lose all goodwill towards him. Now, if Linghu Qianyan wanted to do anything to Long Yu could just hide in the ancient dragon skeleton pagoda. Linghu Qianyan wouldn't be able to do anything to him. When Linghu Qianyan heard what Long Yu said, he was a little slow in digesting what he meant. The exotic beasts had been eliminated? How could there be anyone who could kill such a powerful exotic beast from the secret realm without the participation of the heavenly tribulation realm cultivators? Just because of this Long Yu? Impossible. Linghu Qianyan was certain that no matter how powerful Long Yu was, even if he controlled the ancient dragon skeleton pagoda, it would be impossible for him to kill a powerful exotic beast from the secret realm. His guess was right, but he didn't know that the exotic beasts that appeared in the end were not only from the secret realm, but also from the secret realm of Emperor Path. If it weren't for the mysterious woman, Consort Yu, suddenly appearing, the entire heavenly mandate continent would definitely have fallen. In this tide of exotic beasts, Long Yu had gained a lot, but the heavenly mandate sacred institute had suffered heavy losses. Linghu Qianyan looked at Long Yu and said, "My young friend, what are you doing in the Tiansha forest? Why don't you follow me back to the heavenly mandate sacred institute? This time, we have to thank you properly for repelling the exotic beasts. Please don't decline." If it were before, Long Yu would have believed in Linghu Qianyan's sincerity. But when he supported taking away the ancient dragon skeleton pagoda, Long Yu had already made up his mind not to believe a single word that Linghu Qianyan said. "There's no need for that. Please help yourself, master." Long Yu floated in the air, motionless as he spoke out calmly. Linghu Qianyan naturally saw the distrust in Long Yu's eyes and couldn't help but feel a little awkward. He had no choice but to say, "My young friend, I had no choice back then. I hope you can understand. After all, master, you aren't usually so talkative." Long Yu raised his eyebrows. Linghu Qianyan was stunned for a moment, then shook his head and said, "In that case, my young friend, I'll take my leave first." Since the exotic beast tide had been repelled, he had to hurry back and rebuild the heavenly mandate sacred institute. He didn't want to waste time with Long Yu. Besides, even if he wanted to take away the ancient dragon skeleton pagoda, he knew that he couldn't do it alone. As long as Long Yu hid in the ancient dragon skeleton pagoda, what could he do? Seeing Linghu Qianyan turn and leave, Long Yu narrowed his eyes. The master of the heavenly mandate sacred institute had some brains and didn't do anything to him, which made Long Yu feel slightly relieved. Then, He turned his head and stared at the natural barrier of extremely thick tree roots in front of him. Let's try the dragon blade of the void spirit first. Long Yu thought to himself. This battle weapon was a battle weapon that contained the power of space. Moreover, it was infused with the primordial consciousness of the dragon of the 9 underworlds and the blood of the mysterious woman, Consort Yu. Perhaps it would have a miraculous effect on these trees. In the next moment, Long Yu held the dragon blade of the void spirit and stabbed at the natural barrier of the entangled tree roots. The power of the nether character gathered on the dragon blade of the void spirit. A strange pitch-black fog drifted out and then condensed at a point, acting on the entangled roots of one of the trees with a loud bang. With a burst of power, the entangled roots of the tree were immediately blasted apart, and a large hole appeared in the natural barrier of the tree. However, behind the large hole was another layer of natural barrier. These trees were extremely thick, and there was no telling how many layers they formed. Moreover, the large hole created by the dragon blade of the void spirit quickly recovered under the rich life force. Looks like the dragon blade of the void spirit alone is unable to break through these tree barriers. Since that's the case, Long Yu's expression darkened. With a thought, he activated the dragon scale of the 9 underworlds and released the ancient dragon bone tower. What would happen if the ancient combat weapon, the ancient dragon skeleton pagoda, was released in such a narrow space? Long Yu was looking forward to it. Very soon, Long Yu himself entered the ancient dragon bone tower and appeared on the 7th level. The ancient dragon bone tower appeared in the Sava forest and grew larger and larger. Very soon, it filled the entire narrow path and continued to expand. Long Yu was on the 7th level of the ancient dragon bone tower, constantly observing the situation outside. He discovered that the expansion of the ancient dragon bone tower could destroy the tree barrier. However, the trees were also growing and recovering rapidly under the effect of the life force. The ancient dragon bone tower could destroy the natural tree barrier by expanding, but did not take long before it was firmly entangled by the roots of the trees. Ram it! Long Yu activated the ancient dragon bone tower and wanted to ram it into the natural barrier. However, he discovered that the trees had actually entangled the entire ancient dragon bone tower, making it impossible for the ancient dragon bone tower to move at all. This scene left Long Yu completely dumbfounded. What should I do? Long Yu was stunned on the spot. Retrieving the ancient dragon bone tower was a feasible solution, but in that case, wouldn't there be no way to break through the natural tree barrier? Since Shu Chan said that there was an opportunity here, there must be a treasure. Moreover, it was a treasure that even a Shura princess like Shu Chan felt was not bad. One could only imagine how precious it was. It was impossible for Long Yu to give up just like that. Suddenly, Long Yu turned his gaze to the outer ring of the 7th level of the ancient dragon bone tower. On the outer layer of the dense Hades chi, there was a layer of 5-color glow. According to Shu Chan, that power was similar to the 5-colored siphon law, but slightly stronger. This 5-color glow can absorb all kinds of energy. Martial cultivators who fall into it will be sucked dry and die. Even the energy in heaven-level fighters will be completely sucked away, turning them into a pile of scrap metal. Long Yu's eyes lit up. If I can activate the power of this 5-color glow and absorb the life force on the tree barrier, will I be able to break through this barrier? Long Yu did as he thought of it. After all, this was the only solution he could think of at the moment. He tried to activate the 5-color glow and found that it was not as difficult as he had imagined. Perhaps it was because Long Yu was resonating with the entire ancient dragon bone tower, so he could activate the power. Go out and absorb the life force. Chapter 452. The ancient dragon bone tower was a powerful weapon used by the ancient dragon of 9 underworlds. It definitely surpassed the entire heavenly mandate continent or even the divine battle world. Even in the divine battle world, where the Shura prefecture was located, it was extremely rare to see an ancient weapon. The power contained within the ancient dragon bone tower was naturally extraordinary. Be it the rich chi of 9 underworlds or the power of the 5-colored glow, they were both extremely powerful. At least in the heavenly mandate continent, there was no force that could resist it. It's indeed effective. Long Yu discovered that when the power of the 5-colored glow seeped into the natural barrier of trees, it quickly began to absorb the rich life force contained within. When the life energy was completely absorbed by the multicolored light, the trees became like ordinary trees, and there was nothing terrifying about them. Crash! Only then did Long Yu continue to urge the ancient dragon bone tower, crashing into the natural barrier of trees. This time, the situation was completely different from the previous time. It destroyed the natural barrier as easily as crushing dry weeds. The entire ancient dragon skeleton tower began to move towards the inside of the barrier, destroying countless trees that had their life energy sucked away. Good job! Long Yu was overjoyed, but then he discovered that the natural barrier of trees was probably hundreds of feet thick. Even with the power of the ancient dragon bone tower, it would be difficult for him to break through it in a short period of time. I'm afraid I'll need a few hours to break through. Long Yu's expression was rather grave. Would something unexpected happen if it took so long? He remembered that Xuanji Shanhai and Yanxing had yet to leave the savages' forest. Instead, they were fleeing into the depths of the savages' forest. If the two of them discovered what he was doing, would they hide at the side and wait to take advantage of him? No matter what, Long Yu had to prevent such a thing from happening. He activated the power of the 5-colored glow to absorb the life force on the barrier of trees, while he urged the ancient dragon bone tower to crash into the depths of the barrier. The natural barrier of trees that had existed for hundreds of years was destroyed by the ancient dragon skeleton tower, just like that, scattering in all directions. Branches were broken and roots were crushed, forcibly creating a path for the ancient dragon skeleton tower. Even though this natural barrier of trees was several thousand feet thick, it could no longer maintain its original appearance under the dual effects of the ancient dragon skeleton pagoda and the rainbow glow. After slightly more than 2 hours, the entire natural tree barrier was finally broken through by the dragon bone tower, activated by Long Yu. The moment the last tree was destroyed, a wave of extremely dense life energy surged out from the other side of the barrier and collided heavily with the ancient dragon skeleton tower. Such rich life energy. Just what is behind this natural tree barrier? Long Yu was pleasantly surprised. He urged the ancient dragon skeleton tower to move forward again and immediately crashed into the natural barrier of trees. Then he saw that behind the natural tree barrier was a space that wasn't very wide. This space was surrounded by the natural tree barrier. If it wasn't for Long Yu's tyrannical and unimaginable power, it would be impossible to come to this space. In the center of this space floated a piece of stone. The rich life energy in the surroundings came from this piece of stone. It's the divine inscription. At this moment, a surprised and greedy voice sounded from behind the ancient dragon skeleton tower. Then, a young man dressed in white flew towards the stone piece, emitting life energy in the center. Divine inscription? Seeing this, Long Yu frowned slightly. However, this made him understand what the stone piece was. It turned out to be the divine inscription. If he could obtain the divine inscription, he would be able to comprehend the complete power of the divine inscription. It went without saying what it meant for martial arts practitioners. The white-robed figure that suddenly appeared was the genius of the Azure Water Sword sect, Yin Xing. He was also the genius younger brother of Yin Huanma. When he was young, he killed his father and passed the heavenly mandate sacred selection. Later on, he joined the Azure Water Sword sect. It wasn't easy for Long Yu to break through this natural tree barrier. How could he watch as the fruits of his labor were snatched away by someone else? However, before he could do anything, he saw the white-robed figure being repelled by a rich life energy just as he was about to reach the stone piece. He flew backwards like a kite with a broken string. Long Yu looked over and saw a trace of blood at the corner of Yin Xing's mouth. It seemed like he was seriously injured. It doesn't seem to be a simple matter to obtain the divine inscription. With a thought, Long Yu didn't exit the ancient dragon skeleton tower. Instead, he maneuvered the ancient dragon skeleton tower and flew towards the center of the divine inscription. The life energy kept hitting the body of the ancient dragon skeleton tower. However, it couldn't stop the ancient dragon skeleton tower from moving forward. Soon, the ancient dragon skeleton tower had already flown to the front of the divine inscription. Keep it. Long Yu maneuvered the ancient dragon skeleton tower and absorbed the divine inscription into the ancient dragon skeleton tower. In an instant, the rich life energy in the surroundings disappeared without a trace. All the trees in the savage's forest started to wither at a speed visible to the naked eye. Don't even think about it. Just as Long Yu was about to succeed, Yin Xing, who had been repelled not far away, gritted his teeth and charged forward as fast as he could. He actually dove into the ancient dragon skeleton tower. Yin Xing was really going all out when he saw the divine inscription. After all, the divine inscription was rare and not just anyone could get their hands on it. Simply put, if he could get his hands on the divine inscription, even if he could only comprehend 30% of its power, Yin Xing's strength would at least double. For example, Bei Tianyi, the head of the Northern Academy of Heavenly Mandate Realm, was one of the rare few who had obtained the divine inscription by chance. His combat ability was much stronger than that of Xuanji Shanhai, who was also at the Heaven Hua realm. Yin Xing has appeared. I wonder where Xuanji Shanhai is? Long Yu was extremely at ease on the 7th level of the ancient dragon skeleton tower. He narrowed his eyes and thought to himself as he transported the divine inscription up as fast as he could. Before long, the divine inscription filled with life energy arrived on the 7th level of the ancient dragon skeleton tower. No matter how Yin Xing searched in the first level, he would not be able to find the divine inscription. Instead, he might encounter people in the tribulation realm like Ling Zhiping. Then let them be. Long Yu did not care. The situation had stabilized anyway. Yellow Sand Sky City already had an absolute advantage among the 7 major forces. Long Yu began to study the divine inscription with peace of mind. This is the power of the divine inscription of the life attribute. A petite figure in a short black skirt suddenly appeared beside Long Yu, giving Long Yu a fright. "When did you come in?" Long Yu stared at the young princess, Shu Chan, and asked with a slight frown. "I've been here the whole time." The young princess, Shu Chan, giggled and then patted Long Yu's shoulder. "You're really lucky. The power of the divine inscription of the life attribute is the rarest of the 8 divine inscriptions." Long Yu grabbed the divine rune engraved in his hand and saw that there were some mysterious lines engraved on both sides of the stone. The rich life energy was emitted from these mysterious lines. "All right, since we've obtained the divine inscription, it's time for us to set off," Shu Chan said. "Come with me to familiarize yourself with Shura Prefecture first. Then, you can participate in the Great Selection with me in 3 months." Participate in the Great Selection? Long Yu was a little surprised. That's right. The Great Selection is not just a matter of Heavenly Mandate Island. It's a huge matter for the entire Shura Prefecture. Young County Princess Shu Chan smiled. "For the first 2 rounds, we will select the martial cultivators who are qualified enough. As for the 3rd round, all the martial cultivators in Shura County will participate, including me. So, of course, you will have to participate." "I see." Long Yu nodded to show that he understood. Then he asked, "Can you tell me what the 2nd round of the Great Selection is about?" "Fighting with your own mirror image." Shu Chan did not hide anything. She said directly, "After passing the attribute test of the 1st round, the martial practitioners who participate in the Great Selection will enter an independent space and face a mirror image of the same level as them. If they can defeat this mirror image, they will pass the 2nd round." Mirror image. To be able to create so many mirror images of people and fight with them, the power of Shura Prefecture is really amazing. Long Yu couldn't help but sigh. This was made by one of my father's subordinates. He is also a King Path Secret Plane cultivator like my father, Shu Chan said proudly. "I see." Long Yu nodded. If he left with Shu Chan, he would have the chance to see such a terrifying cultivator. The King Path secret plane could be said to be the most powerful existence in the entire Shenwu world. It was much stronger than the secret plane of divinity. It could even crush any secret plane cultivator. What kind of realm was there above the King Path secret plane? What kind of realm were the dragon of underworld and the mysterious woman consort you? These questions had to be answered by Long Yu after he became stronger. After all, it was a level that even a Shura princess like Shu Chan could not reach. What about the people in the ancient tower? Long Yu suddenly asked. I can take you with me out of Heavenly Mandate Island, but I can't take anyone else. Even in the Dragon Bone Ancient Tower, any living being that passes the 1,000th floor will die. Shu Chan said directly, with my protection, you can pass the 1,000th floor, but the others I understand. Long Yu understood what Shu Chan meant. It was impossible to take the people in the Dragon Bone Ancient Tower away from Heavenly Mandate Island. Either they all left the Dragon Bone Ancient Tower, or they would die while passing through the 1,000th floor. At this moment, most of the people left in the Dragon Bone Ancient Tower were Long Yu's enemies. Long Yu could not be bothered with them. Chapter 453. In fact, there was no need for Long Yu to remind the Heaven Tribulation Realm Martial Cultivators in the ancient Dragon Bone Tower. The Azure Water Sword Sect prodigy, Yin Xing, flew through the air like a madman. He couldn't find any trace of the divine rune inscription, but he found many Heaven Tribulation Realm Martial Cultivators. What are you guys still doing here? The beast tide is long gone. That brat, Long Yu, took this opportunity to obtain a divine rune inscription. Yin Xing immediately shouted to everyone. What? The Azure Water Sword Sect Master, the Chess Soul Lord, Palace Lord Ling Jiping, and the others all had a drastic change in expression. The beast tide was long gone, so what were they still doing here? That Long Yu is really abominable. The beast tide is already gone, but he didn't tell us to come out. He even made us hide in the tower. Ling Jiping said hatefully, why don't you take a look at how you've treated him? The three beautiful palace lords of the Glazed Moon Palace had received a voice transmission from Long Yu not long ago. Therefore, they were the first to make preparations to leave. The moment Yin Xing arrived, the three beautiful palace lords of the Glazed Moon Palace held hands and left the ancient Dragonbone Tower. When the three ladies exited the ancient Dragonbone Tower, didn't see Long Yu. They only saw the ancient Dragonbone Tower flying towards the higher levels of the Heaven Dipper. Boom! The ancient Dragonbone Tower broke through the first level of the Heaven Dipper. The three beautiful palace lords of the Glazed Moon Palace were shocked. They were already on the 65th level of the Heaven Dipper, and the ancient Dragonbone Tower was still flying upwards. What is Long Yu trying to do? Out of curiosity, the three beautiful palace lords of the Glazed Moon Palace followed behind the ancient Dragonbone Tower. However, they realized that they couldn't keep up with the ancient Dragonbone Tower, even though they were at the Heaven Tribulation Realm. They could only watch as the ancient Dragonbone Tower got further and further away and broke through the Heaven Dipper. When the ancient Dragonbone Tower broke through the 100th level of the Heaven Dipper, the three beautiful palace lords of the Glazed Moon Palace were shocked. It was already very impressive for a normal human glory realm cultivator to break through the 50th level of the Heavenly Star Border. However, Long Yu had broken through the 100th level of the Heavenly Star Border at such a fast speed and was still going up. What they didn't know was that the Azura Princess, Shu Chan, was pushing the entire ancient Dragon Skeleton Tower. Only Shu Chan, who was in the mystical secret realm, could make the ancient Dragon Skeleton Tower fly at such a high speed and break through to the celestial spirit realm. The others haven't come out yet. Could it be that they covet the divine rune mark that Long Yu obtained? The red-clad Glazed Moon Palace's first palace master frowned slightly. I'm afraid so. The fourth palace lord, who was wearing a long purple dress, said indifferently, if it wasn't for Long Yu reminding us that we would be obliterated if we didn't leave the ancient Dragonbone Tower, we probably wouldn't have left so decisively. If those people really don't come back, that's not bad. At least, our Heavenly Mandate continent will be much quieter. The third palace lord, who was wearing a long red dress, smiled and said, "However, Long Yu is really not bad. With such talent, he was still chosen by those from the outside world. That's not something that just anyone can do. Just from the fact that he can control the ancient Dragonbone Tower, obtain the divine rune mark in the heavenly ferocious forest, and destroy the entire heavenly ferocious forest, you can tell that he's extraordinary." The first palace lord shook his head slightly and said, "Normal martial arts cultivators who go to the heavenly ferocious forest will at most absorb some life energy and comprehend a bit of the divine rune power of life attribute. However, Long Yu directly took away the divine rune mark." As the three of them conversed, the ancient Dragonbone Tower disappeared from their sight. However, they did not stop and continued to break through to the celestial spirit realm. Soon, they arrived at the 200th level of the celestial spirit realm. They did not see the ancient Dragonbone Tower again. Instead, they saw Ling Zhiping and the others who had left the ancient Dragonbone Tower. Seemingly sensing that something was amiss, Ling Zhiping, the Chess Soul Lord, the Azure Water Sword sect leader White Robe, and the others finally stopped searching for the divine rune mark in the ancient Dragonbone Tower. Instead, they ran out, including Yin Xing. He's gone. The Chess Soul Lord squinted his eyes and looked at the sky. The next time we see him, we'll probably have to look up to him, but Yin Xing, you still have a chance. The Azure Water Sword sect leader White Robe said to Yin Xing solemnly, "The day of the selection is approaching. You have to do your best and strive to be chosen by those from the outside world. When that time comes, you'll still be qualified to fight against that Long Yu. Otherwise, you'll only be able to look up to him for the rest of your life." "I understand, sect leader." Yin Xing's eyes flickered with an extremely strong fighting spirit. He looked at the sky where the ancient Dragonbone Tower had disappeared for a long time. "They're all gone. I thought I could kill one or two of them." Long Yu sat on the 7th level of the ancient Dragonbone Tower and lamented with some regret. "I might be in control of the ancient Dragonbone Tower, but I'm unable to control the living beings in the tower unless my martial realm is higher than theirs. But if my martial realm is higher than theirs, why would I need to rely on the ancient Dragonbone Tower to deal with them?" Sigh. As Long Yu thought about it, he shook his head. If he wanted to use the ancient Dragon Skeleton Tower to deal with experts, he would have to give up on that thought. It was impossible. If he wanted to deal with experts, the only way was to make himself stronger and raise his martial realm to the next level. The black-dressed young princess, Shu Chan, looked at Long Yu with a smile. "There are many things you can comprehend now, such as the divine rune mark of the vitality attribute, and the power of the divine rune on the 7th level of the ancient pagoda that is similar to the 5-colored siphon law." Although Shu Chan was pushing the ancient Dragonbone Tower to break through the hundreds of levels, Long Yu couldn't see any pressure on Shu Chan. If it were Long Yu himself, he probably wouldn't be able to make it past the 100th level of the Heavenly Dipper. The 1,000-level Heavenly Dipper was known as the Heavenly Dipper Realm. However, beyond the 400th level, it was already a turbulent area with few people. Even Heavenly Tribulation experts would have to be careful to survive if they entered. In addition, the closer one got to the 400th level of the Heavenly Dipper, the more chaotic the air currents became. Generally speaking, there wouldn't be anyone after the 200th level of the Heavenly Dipper. Most of the martial cultivators in the Heavenly Dipper realm were gathered in the first 100 levels. The 7 major factions weren't the only factions in the Heavenly Dipper realm, but they were the strongest. Heavenly Tribulation experts were only found in the 7 major factions in the entire Heavenly Dipper realm. In places like Heaven Fiend City, the strongest experts were only martial cultivators in the Heavenly Dipper realm. This rainbow glow is the power of the divine text. Long Yu looked at the rainbow glow on the outskirts of the 7th level of the ancient Dragonbone Tower that was similar to the rainbow siphon law and felt a little puzzled. That's right. Furthermore, it's similar to the power of the divine text that you've comprehended. It's a little stronger than the power of the divine text that we've comprehended from the divine text inscriptions. I wonder what's going on. Shu Chan frowned slightly. I like to comprehend this power, but it's a pity that it keeps rejecting me. It seems like only you, who can control the ancient dragon bone tower, can comprehend this power. Miss Shu-chan, you're the Azura Prefecture's lord. I don't think you'll be interested in this little toy of mine. Long Yu chuckled. Don't worry about that. Since I've made you my subordinate, there's no reason for me to bully you. Shu-chan's eyes narrowed into crescents, looking extremely adorable. If anyone dares to bully you in the Azura Prefecture in the future, just mention my name. I'll definitely scare them to death. Then I'll thank you in advance, Lord. Long Yu said with a smile. He had quite a good impression of this Azura Prefecture's lord. Putting everything else aside, just based on her martial arts realm of the secret realm, she could do anything she wanted to Long Yu. Snatching the ancient dragon bone tower was just a matter of moving her fingers. However, even though Shu-chan could sense that the divine character that Long Yu had comprehended, as well as the power of the 5-color divine characters on the 7th floor of the ancient pagoda, were extremely powerful, and even surpassed the power that she had comprehended herself, she didn't have any ill intentions towards them. This was what Long Yu admired. It seemed that in this world where martial arts reigned supreme, not everyone was a bandit martial cultivator like Yin Xing and Xiao Zhaji, who would snatch anything they saw. I've passed the 400th level. Following Shu-chan's words, the entire ancient dragon skeleton tower shook. Then, the shaking did not stop at all. Instead, it became even more intense. Through the ancient Dragonbone Pagoda, Long Yu could see that the entire ancient Dragonbone Pagoda was like an arrow augmented by Shu-chan's power, piercing through the turbulence. Every 2 levels were separated by a distance of 100,000 feet. However, with Shu-chan pushing the ancient Dragonbone Tower, it only took a few breaths' time to cross this distance. The 400th level is indeed filled with turbulence. If I were to barge in with my current martial arts realm, I'd definitely die. Long Yu's expression couldn't help but change slightly when he saw the surging airflow outside. You must be joking, Shu-chan remarked indifferently. With your current cultivation, you won't be able to reach the 400th level alone. That's true. Long Yu scratched his head. Before long, the ancient Dragonbone Tower sped upwards, breaking through layer after layer of astral winds. As for Shu-chan, her expression had also changed from a casual one to a slightly grim one. The higher one went, the more violent the heavenly astral currents would be in order to break through the heavenly astral winds of higher levels. They would form gusts of hurricanes, and they would be accompanied by some kind of mysterious and tyrannical power. It was enough to shred anyone who entered without sufficient strength into pieces. Even parts of the ancient Dragonbone Tower that were previously destroyed by the Beast Kings of the Emperor Path Mystic Realms were now even more damaged by the astral air currents. Thankfully, with Shu-chan's power augmenting the ancient Dragonbone Tower, the tower and Long Yu did not encounter any powerful collisions. Level 700th, level 800th, apart from martial cultivators who had advanced to the mystic secret realm, no one would be able to reach such a high altitude. Right now, the astral air currents around the ancient Dragonbone Tower were getting stronger. Even heavenly tribulation martial cultivators would be crushed instantly, let alone Long Yu. Before long, the 900th level was successfully broken through as well. Prepare to leave Heavenly Mandate Island, Shu-chan reminded in a deep voice. Immediately, Long Yu felt a strong sense of shock. This shock did not only come from his body. It seemed to penetrate his entire body and reach the depths of his mind. Chapter 454. When Long Yu woke up and opened his eyes again, he discovered that he was floating high up in the sky. Furthermore, he was being carried by someone as they flew forward at a rapid speed. The ancient Dragonbone Tower had automatically retracted back into the dragon scale of the 9 underworlds, and the person who was carrying Long Yu forward was Shu-chan, the young commandery princess in a short black dress. In front of Shu-chan and Long Yu was a vast sea of clouds that rose and fell like the tides of the sea, rolling forward. A bright red sun hung in the sky, illuminating the entire sea of clouds in a crimson color. You're awake, Shuchan smiled slightly. When passing through the 1,000 layers of heavenly spirit, the heavenly spirit wind was turbulent. Those who have not stepped into the secret realm of divinity would be unconscious for a period of time. However, I'm surprised that you've been unconscious for a much shorter time than ordinary people. How long have I been unconscious? Where am I now? Long Yu asked, only to realize that his voice was a little hoarse. It was obvious that the turbulence of the heavenly spirit wind was still making his body a little uncomfortable. I've been unconscious for more than 6 hours. I'm naturally in the territory of Shura Prefecture now. Shuchan smiled and said, turn around and take a look. Long Yu turned around when he heard that, and what he saw made him open his eyes involuntarily. It was because what he saw was actually an extremely huge floating island. This floating island was in the shape of an inverted triangle. Looking from afar, one could still feel the huge size of this floating island in the sea of clouds. This is Heavenly Mandate Island? Long Yu couldn't help but ask. That's right. Shuchan nodded. I've been unconscious for more than 6 hours. You've been flying at this speed with me, and we've only flown such a short distance. Long Yu looked at the huge floating island that almost occupied his entire field of vision and couldn't help but feel a little incredulous. Although Heavenly Mandate Island is an island, it's extremely large. Among the hundreds of floating islands under the jurisdiction of Shura Prefecture, it's considered the largest. Shuchan said, even now, the heavenly spirit wind on Heavenly Mandate Island is still affecting our movements. We still need to fly for another 16 to 16 hours before we can completely leave the territory of Heavenly Mandate Island. Impressive. Long Yu couldn't help but sigh. On the Heavenly Mandate Island, just the height of the 1,000 layers of the sky was already beyond the imagination of ordinary people. The size of the entire Heavenly Mandate Island was certainly not that small. Above the sea of clouds, the Heavenly Mandate Island floated quietly. The surrounding gang of heaven surged violently, causing whirlpools of clouds to form in the surrounding sea of clouds, spreading further. Such a magnificent scene was something that Long Yu had never seen in his previous life, and it undoubtedly caused him to feel shock from the depths of his heart. Heavenly Mandate Island. I can't even if I want to go. Long Yu smiled helplessly. Of course. If you want to break through the 1,000th layer of the heavenly spirit wind, you must enter the secret realm. Otherwise, you won't be able to withstand the impact of the heavenly spirit wind. Shuchan said matter-of-factly, yes. Long Yu nodded. He then sensed the surrounding air and felt that after leaving the heavenly Mandate Island, the spiritual chi of the world in the surrounding air was obviously much denser. It was at least twice as dense as it was on the Heavenly Mandate Island. This meant that the cultivation speed of martial arts practitioners in this world was at least twice as fast as that of martial arts practitioners on Heavenly Mandate Island. Of course, the achievements of martial arts practitioners were still related to their own talents. If they were not talented enough, no matter how fast they absorbed the spirit chi of heaven and earth, it was useless if they couldn't break through the bottleneck of the realm. Oh, right. Long Yu suddenly remembered something. He turned around and asked Shuchan, do you know about the Hell Demon Seed? The Hell Demon Seed? You mean the method of controlling people's minds in the Ghost Evil region? Shuchan was stunned and then said, of course I know about this thing, but you have never left Heavenly Mandate Island. How could you have heard about the Hell Demon Seed? When I was on Heavenly Mandate Island, the father of a friend of mine was affected by the Hell Demon Seed. Long Yu frowned slightly and asked, can he be saved? Heavenly Mandate Island. Shuchan slightly frowned and then relaxed. I only know that if someone in my Azure state is infected by the hell demonic seed of the Ghost Evil state, my father will definitely send someone to observe. Are you sure? Long Yu was skeptical. After all, he didn't see anyone observing Lu Yuan's father, Lu Qing. Of course. Do you think I'll lie? Shuchan was slightly displeased. I don't know the specifics, but there is no way to get rid of the Hell Demon Seed for now. My father can only send someone to observe. In addition, the Glazed Moon Palace on Heavenly Mandate Island has a spy from Shura Prefecture. Maybe she knows something about this. The Glazed Moon Palace. Long Yu suddenly remembered that when he first met the people from the Glazed Moon Palace, he thought of Ling Long Yu, the adopted daughter of Mo Shanjian of the Xiang clan's Mo family in the Tang Empire. The people of Glass Moon Palace all wore veils. Ling Long Yu also wore a veil. Considering that Ling Long Yu was Mo Shanjian's adopted daughter, could it be that this Ling Long Yu was the person secretly monitoring Lu Qing? That was interesting. Long Yu thought to himself and smiled. Since there was someone watching, the situation was much better. He didn't have to worry too much about the situation there. What is this ghost, evil region? After understanding all this, Long Yu continued to ask about the topic he was interested in. The ghost, evil region is the territory of a duke that is adjacent to Shura Prefecture. They are both under the Tianqin dynasty. Most of the martial practitioners there are ghostly and eerie. The martial techniques they practice and the laws they comprehend are extremely evil. Shu Chan introduced, at the same time, my father, the Shura Prefecture Duke, has always stood on the opposite side of the ghost evil region. Was the Tianqin dynasty? Long Yu asked again. The Shenwu world is divided into countries. There are empires, dynasties, and royal courts. Their strength is reduced accordingly. Shu Chan casually spoke about things she knew since young. The Tianqin dynasty is under the jurisdiction of Shura Prefecture. It is ruled by an Emperor Realm expert. The Imperial Path Secret Realm is also divided into 3 different realms: King Realm, Emperor Realm, and Emperor Realm. Each realm is stronger than the one before it. My father is only a King Realm martial practitioner. That's why he became a duke under the Tianqin dynasty. Listening to Shu Chan's explanation, Long Yu finally had a general understanding of the Shenwu world. It turned out that the Shenwu world was the same as the Heavenly Mandate continent, divided by countries. However, the weakest country here, the Royal Court, was ruled by at least one martial arts cultivator from the secret realm of the Emperor Path, which was many times stronger than the countries on the Heavenly Mandate continent. Without reaching the Imperial Path secret realm, they don't even have the right to create a country. This also means that in the Shenwu world, the Theurgy secret realm is a very common existence. Long Yu is only at the human glory realm of the Heaven's secret realm. Having just arrived at the Shenwu world, not to mention the entire Shenwu world, even in Shura Prefecture, he is considered a very weak existence. If you really want to become my subordinate, it won't be that easy. At the very least, you need to have the cultivation of the Theurgy secret realm. Shu Chan suddenly smiled. From the Heaven's secret realm to the Theurgy secret realm, it's not easy, but it's not difficult either. If you have enough talent, learning the Theurgy secret realm is very easy. If you don't have enough talent, then it will be troublesome. You might not even be able to step into the Theurgy secret realm for a few decades. Of course, since I chose you to be my subordinate, it's because of your talent. With the help of my Shura Prefecture's cultivation resources, I believe you will grow very quickly. Shu Chan's words made Long Yu look forward to it. It seems that this Shu Chan is prepared to spend a lot of resources to train him. If he has enough cultivation resources, Long Yu indeed feels that his cultivation level will increase very quickly. In Yellow Sand Heaven City, there are some heaven-level elixirs and earth-level weapons brought back by the first City Lord. In less than 100 years, Yellow Sand Heaven City has become one of the 7 strongest forces in the Heavenly Star Boundary. One could imagine just how great the cultivation resources that the Azura County's daughter could provide were. It will take at least 7 to 8 days to reach our Shura Valley. During this time, you can take a rest first, or try to comprehend the power of the divine runes. Shu Chan said to Long Yu, the black teardrop-shaped earring hanging on her earlobe was extremely dazzling under the sunlight. Long Yu nodded. He paid a little attention to the earring, but didn't pay much attention to it. This earring is definitely not for decoration. It should be some kind of powerful weapon. But no matter what, it has nothing to do with the current Long Yu. Shu Chan's strength is much stronger than his. He can't guess her fighting style. The young county lord emitted a black light barrier, bringing Long Yu along with her. She also helped Long Yu block the heavenly star wind from the surroundings. Only after a few more hours did the heavenly astral wind gradually weaken until it disappeared. Long Yu was now immersed in comprehending the power of the divine runes. I'll call this divine rune Siphon Divine Rune for now. As Long Yu comprehended the power of the colorful glow on the 7th floor of the ancient Dragonbone Tower, he knew that this was an extremely powerful power that he could comprehend at the moment. If he wanted to establish himself in Shura Prefecture, he had to comprehend this power. It should be known that this was a powerful power that even Shu Chan could not stop praising. The Siphon Divine Rune doesn't seem to have any specific lines, but if I comprehend it, I should be able to observe something. If I use this power in battle, it will definitely be very effective and unexpected. Long Yu thought to himself. Unfortunately, the power of the divine rune was not something he could easily grasp at the moment. A few hours passed, but he still couldn't comprehend the slightest bit of the Siphon Divine Rune. Next, he took out the divine rune seal he had obtained from the savage's woods and began to comprehend the power of the divine rune with the attribute of life. There were 8 types of divine runes, and according to Shu Chan, the divine rune seal of the divine rune was the hardest to obtain. Long Yu was looking forward to the power of the divine rune. Due to the existence of the divine rune seal, the speed at which Long Yu comprehended the divine rune seemed to be a lot faster. Whether or not he could comprehend the divine rune depended on the first 7 days. If he couldn't comprehend it in 7 days, there was no point in continuing. Chapter 455. Long Yu had obtained the power of the life element divine character. It allowed him to regenerate at the fastest speed when he was injured, such as a broken arm or leg. In other words, if he could comprehend the power of the life element divine character, Long Yu's self-healing ability would become extremely powerful. Combined with his body tempered by the law of nightmare thunder, it would be extremely difficult for others to kill him, unless the opponent was much stronger than Long Yu. Then I'll call you the self-healing divine character. Long Yu thought to himself. The divine character inscription did not display its power in the form of a character, so Long Yu could only think of a name for it. The divine character inscription was divided into 8 major attributes. The life element was one of the rarest. According to Shu Chan, the life element divine character inscription was considered an extremely rare treasure in the entire Shura County. The divine character inscription was rare on Heavenly Mandate Island, but in the Shura County, it wasn't that rare because this was the Shunwu world. In the Shunwu world, not only the divine character inscription, but also the natural resources such as the divine monument were much more abundant than on Heavenly Mandate Island. In Ashura County, the divine monument inscription wasn't much, only the heavenly crystal level inscription was valued. Of course, it wasn't easy to comprehend the heavenly crystal level inscription even in the Shura County, because the heavenly crystal level inscription could only be comprehended through cultivation methods passed down by certain forces. It wasn't like the divine character inscription, which could be bought with money. In a sense, the power of the heavenly crystal level inscription was no less than the power of the regular divine character. 7 days was the time limit to comprehend the divine character inscription. Long Yu used the next 7 days to comprehend the life element divine character inscription. During this time, his understanding of the self-healing divine character became more and more profound. On the 3rd day, he had already comprehended 1,000th of the self-healing divine character inscription. I have the divine character inscription. In other words, I can comprehend not just 1/10 of the divine character inscription's power. I can even comprehend the divine character inscription in its entirety. Long Yu's eyes lit up. Comprehending 1,000th in 3 days, this momentum is not bad. This caused Shu Chan, who had been carrying Long Yu through the air, to be surprised. She knew that Long Yu had comprehended the Yu divine character and was extremely tyrannical. But she hadn't imagined that Long Yu would also have such a talent in comprehending the power of life, attribute divine characters. When the seventh day arrived, Long Yu directly comprehended 1% of the self-healing divine rune's power. This speed can't be considered too fast, but to be able to comprehend the power of shadow attribute divine runes and also comprehend the power of life attribute divine runes so quickly, your talent truly surpasses that of ordinary people. A smile appeared on Shu Chan's pretty face as she said this. Does everyone comprehend the 8 elemental divine characters at different speeds? Long Yu woke up and asked. Of course it's different. Shu Chan nodded and looked up ahead. Most people only have a stronger ability to comprehend one of the 8 elemental divine characters. This is the attribute that can be tested with attribute stones. But there are also people like you who have a strong ability to comprehend 2 or more divine characters. It seems that I should be glad that my talent is not bad, Long Yu said with a smile. He looked up and saw that in front of Shu Chan, there was a towering mountain range that was as tall as the sky. The entire mountain range occupied Long Yu's entire field of vision. It was even more shocking than when he had first left Heavenly Mandate Island. The entire mountain range was a dense green. The trees on the mountain were lush, and there was a thick white mist drifting in the surroundings, causing the entire mountain range to seem extremely ethereal. The scenery within it became blurry, and it was hard to see clearly. This is the Azura mountain range where the Azura Valley is located, Shu Chan said. You will follow me to the Azura mountain range and cultivate for 3 months. Then, you will follow me to participate in the 3rd round of the Great Selection. What exactly is the 3rd round? Long Yu frowned slightly. Exploration. Do you like it? Shu Chan smiled slyly. Then, she raised her hand and led Long Yu into the dense green mountain range. A gust of Qi rushed toward Long Yu, but he did not feel any discomfort. You are indeed a talent suitable for our Azure Prefecture. Shu Chan glanced at Long Yu from head to toe again and said with satisfaction, Ordinary martial arts cultivators will often tremble when they come to the Azura mountain range, but you're like a fish in water. You seem to be even more refreshed. I don't know why. Long Yu smiled. Perhaps it has something to do with my own element. Judging from the shadow element divine text that you have comprehended, your main element should be the shadow element. Therefore, the power of the Azura mountain range is more acceptable to you. Shu Chan nodded. As the two of them entered the Azura mountain range, all they could see was a vast expanse of green that filled their vision. At the same time, there was an indistinct white fog that drifted through the forest, surrounding the two of them and causing them to feel a slight chill. Someone is coming. Shu Chan's sudden words made Long Yu a little nervous. After leaving Heavenly Mandate Island and coming to the Divine Battle World, this was the first time he had seen anyone other than Shu Chan. Of course, he was a little nervous. Although Shu Chan was the Azura Prefecture Lord, there was no guarantee that she did not have any enemies in the Azura Prefecture. Soon, more than 10 figures of martial arts practitioners flew out from the white mist at the entrance of the valley and headed toward where Shu Chan and Long Yu were. They are 2 of my father's disciples. Shu Chan quickly saw the person's face and frowned slightly. Your father's disciples. Do you hate them? Seeing her expression, Long Yu asked in a slightly puzzled manner. Not really. It's just that these 2 guys are quite troublesome. Shu Chan shook her head. My father took in 4 disciples in his life. They were all taken in by my mother after she gave birth to me. Their task was to protect me when I grew up. For disciples? How strong are they? Long Yu asked. Of course, they are already in the secret land of divinity. Shu Chan smiled slightly. The cultivation resources in the Azura Prefecture are very rich. Heavenly Mandate Island can't compare with them. Moreover, my father only took in 4 disciples in his life. Naturally, he has to choose the most talented martial arts practitioners. As Shu Chan's voice faded away, the dozen figures in front of them finally left the white mist and came in front of Long Yu, and Shu Chan. Long Yu swept a glance at the group of people and saw that there were a total of 12 people. 2 of them were flying at the forefront, and their bodies were emitting a tyrannical aura similar to Shu Chan's. From the looks of it, they were experts in the divine ability realm. One of them was a handsome young man who wore a black shirt and held a folding fan in his hand. The other was a peerless beauty who wore a pink dress, and her jade-like skin was faintly discernible. She was a captivating beauty. Big brother, Tian Xinghe, fourth sister by Qing. Shu Chan introduced them to Long Yu without batting an eyelid. The black-robed young man, Tian Xinghe, and the pink-dressed woman, by Qing, were one of the 4 disciples of Shu Chan's father. As for the martial arts practitioners in the secret land of divinity behind them, they should be their attendants. The 2 of them flew over and saw Shu Chan coming back with Long Yu, but their expressions didn't change. "Princess, you are finally back. Big brother has been waiting for you for a long time." The black-robed young man looked like a gentleman, but his eyes were full of eagerness when he looked at Shu Chan. Anyone could see his desire for Shu Chan. After all, she was the princess of the Azura Prefecture and the daughter of the Azura Prefecture king. Shu Chan's status in the Azura Prefecture was self-evident. It was only natural that she became the dream lover of countless people. Yes. Shu Chan nodded slightly in return, but she didn't seem to want to talk much. This caused the black-robed young man, Tian Xinghe, to have an awkward expression on his face. He glanced at Long Yu, who was standing behind Shu Chan, as a hint of arrogance and disdain appeared in his eyes. "Princess, this is the person you brought back. How is his talent? Have you tested him with the attribute stone?" Tian Xinghe asked disdainfully. "His talent is naturally incomparable to yours. However, I'll need to ask for your permission when I choose someone to be my subordinate, right?" Shu Chan said calmly. "Long Yu, let's go." Long Yu nodded and followed Shu Chan in the air. He could tell that Shu Chan was quite impatient with Tian Xinghe. It seemed like he was a difficult person to deal with. As Shu Chan's subordinate, Long Yu naturally wouldn't say anything to Tian Xinghe. "Brat." Tian Xinghe stared at Long Yu and suddenly said, "As the princess's dog, you must recognize your own status. You must think of the princess in everything you do. Even dying for the princess is something you should do. However, if you have any improper thoughts about the princess, you will be committing treason. You will become a great enemy of Shura County and will be annihilated." Tian Xinghe's eyes were filled with disdain, causing Long Yu to squint his eyes. "Long Yu, there's no need to listen to him. Let's go." Shu Chan turned around and glanced at Tian Xinghe. She said coldly, "Tian Xinghe, I am not the same kind of person as you. Don't try to use your methods on me." "Your Highness, I'm just educating your servant." Tian Xinghe didn't care about Shu Chan's unfriendly tone. He only said calmly, "Speaking of which, why is this brat only at the magnificent realm?" At this moment, Bai Qing, who was standing not far away, laughed charmingly. "Princess, this brat looks like he is already in his 20s, but he is only at the magnificent realm. Don't you think he is too weak? However, since Princess brought him back, he must have some outstanding aspects. How about this? My weakest subordinate is at the heavenly tribulation realm. Why don't you let my subordinate exchange some pointers with Princess's subordinate? What do you think, Princess?" As soon as she said this, Shu Chan and Long Yu raised their heads and looked behind Bai Qing. Behind Bai Qing were 5 subordinates. 4 of them were at the heavenly realm, and only one of them was at the human tribulation realm. Chapter 456. Hearing Bai Qing's suggestion, she, the black-shirted young man, and the group of people from the heavenly galaxy looked expectant. Originally, they didn't think much of Long Yu. The reason for this was that Long Yu was only at the human glory stage. Now that Bai Qing proposed to let her subordinate in the human tribulation realm fight with Long Yu, it couldn't be better. Moreover, Bai Qing gave a reason that Shu Chan couldn't refuse. Why did she want to take Long Yu as her subordinate? There must be something special about him. Since he was special, he definitely wouldn't be afraid of a challenge from a human tribulation realm young man. Hearing Bai Qing's suggestion, Shu Chan's eyes curved like crescent moons. She smiled sweetly and said, "Since 4th senior sister has suggested this, then Long Yu, you can fight with this young man." Shu Chan had seen Long Yu defeat Yuan Liang, an expert in the Tianhua realm, in the Yellow Sand Sky City when Long Yu was unprepared. Even if the martial arts practitioners in the outside world were stronger than the martial arts practitioners on the Heavenly Mandate Island at the same realm, they wouldn't be much stronger. Shu Chan was sure that Bai Qing, a human tribulation realm young man, would have no chance of winning against Yuan Liang, who was in the Tianhua realm. Since that was the case, and the other party wanted to humiliate himself, why not satisfy him? Let's fight then, but it's too boring to just fight. Why don't we both increase the bet? Long Yu also smiled and squinted his eyes. Their reactions were completely out of Bai Qing's expectations, causing her eyes to flicker with a trace of doubt. Logically speaking, if a martial arts practitioner in the Renhua realm fought against a martial arts practitioner in the human tribulation realm, the probability of winning was very small. In the entire Shura prefecture, there were very few martial arts practitioners with such tyrannical talent who could defeat an opponent one level higher. Under such circumstances, when Shu Chan encountered Bai Qing's challenge, she should have rejected it to avoid losing face. But now, both Shu Chan and Long Yu had agreed to it without hesitation. Not only that, but they even asked for both sides to increase the bet. A playful look appeared on the handsome Tian Xing's face. "Princess, this is just a friendly duel. Why do I need to make a bet? Isn't this new subordinate of yours a little too impudent? Is there any room for him to speak here?" After saying that, Tian Xinghe looked at Long Yu in disdain. Clearly, he did not think much of Long Yu. Whatever he says goes. What? Could it be that fourth senior sister doesn't dare to add to the wager? Shu Chan smiled casually. "Long Yu, if you win, I'll give you some conditions. I guarantee that you won't lose out. But if you lose, you have to listen to the other party's conditions. What do you think?" "All right." Long Yu glanced at Shu Chan and nodded. Shu Chan's words were obviously helping him fight for benefits. If he won, Shu Chan would obviously make Bai Qing bleed a lot and get some great treasure for Long Yu. And even if Long Yu lost, the other party could not do anything to Shu Chan. Even for the sake of Shu Chan, they could not kill Long Yu. Otherwise, it would be disrespectful to the princess. What reason did Long Yu have to reject such conditions? Moreover, Long Yu did not think that he could not defeat a young man in the tribulation state. Even if this young man was born and raised in the Shura prefecture of the Shenwu world and was much stronger than the tribulation state cultivators on the Heavenly Mandate Island, to Long Yu, it was nothing. "Princess, it seems that you have a lot of confidence in your subordinate," Tianxing said with a smile. Anyway, even if he lost the bet, he would not be the one suffering. He was happy to see Bai Qing's subordinate and Long Yu in conflict. It would be best if they could get rid of Long Yu. Of course, this was difficult to do, at least not in front of Shu Chan, of course. "Fourth senior sister, may I know the name of this subordinate of yours?" Shu Chan looked at the young man in the human tribulation state and asked with a smile. "Princess, my name is Zhuo Zeshan. I come from Bai of the Shura prefecture." The young man was a little excited. Perhaps it was because it was his first time seeing the legendary Shura princess, Shu Chan, that made his face flush. "All right, Zhuo Zeshan, your opponent is called Long Yu." Shu Chan smiled faintly. "You must remember that Long Yu will be one of my strongest subordinates in the future. Perhaps he will even surpass me one day. Today, you must fight Long Yu with all your strength." This made the young man, Zhuo Zeshan's face flush with excitement. Long Yu would be the strongest subordinate of the princess in the future. If he, Zhuo Zeshan, could defeat Long Yu, wouldn't that mean that the princess would especially admire him? This was a great opportunity for Zhuo Zeshan. With just a few words, Shu Chan had blocked Zhuo Zeshan's path of retreat, forcing him to use his strongest strength. This way, even if he lost in the end, Bai Qing would have no reason to refuse to admit defeat. Long Yu had a deeper understanding of Shu Chan's personality. This young princess looked delicate and charming, but she was a demon through and through. Anyone who provoked her would definitely suffer. The charming woman in a pink dress, Bai Qing, naturally understood the meaning behind Shu Chan's words. She was a little unhappy, but she didn't show it. Bai Qing didn't dare to show any dissatisfaction in front of Shu Chan. Even if Shu Chan blocked his path of retreat, he couldn't say anything. "Zhuo Zeshan, go. Remember to use your full strength. Don't hold back, understand?" Bai Qing tilted her head and reminded the young man whose face was flushed with excitement. Zhuo Zeshan will definitely do his best. When a youth faced Bai Qing, there was a sense of loyalty and gratitude in his heart. It was completely different from the respect he had for Shu Chan. Zhuo Zeshan stepped forward with a pair of metal hooks in his hands. The metal hooks were shining with some kind of extremely powerful law energy. Long Yu also stepped forward. He was wearing a black robe that was fluttering in the wind, but his hands were empty. Shu Chan and the others stepped back to give the two of them a large space so that they could have a spar. Although your martial arts realm is not as good as mine, I will still use my full strength. Don't blame me if you can't withstand it. Zhuo Zeshan wore a serious expression as he looked at Long Yu. His eyes were filled with the desire to fight. He wanted to perform well in front of the princess, and to repay Bai Qing for the help she had given him. Make your move. Long Yu was calm as he flew in the air. He didn't feel the slightest bit guilty facing a martial cultivator who was one level higher than him. Take this, Soul Morning Hook. Zhuo Zeshan's eyes flickered with a ferocious look. Following this, the pair of metal hooks in his hands flew toward Long Yu with a sharp glint. The hooks were accompanied by 2 gusts of ghostly gales. It's a Xian-level martial skill. Long Yu's expression remained unchanged. A mere Xian-level martial skill would not be able to do anything to him. Underworld Barrier. Long Yu raised his hand and unleashed the Underworld Qi, forming a layer of Underworld Barrier in front of him. It was pitch black and serene, as if it could withstand all attacks. The Underworld Barrier did not disappoint Long Yu. It easily withstood Zhuo Zeshan's Xian-level martial skill, Soul Morning Hook, causing the desire to fight to grow stronger in Zhuo Zeshan's eyes. Very well, this is just a test attack. You've proven that you're qualified to make me use my full strength. Zhuo Zeshan stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. Although he was a young man, the ferocious look in his eyes was enough to make others feel the fear of death. Zhuo Zeshan was a genius from the north of Shura County. Since he was chosen by Bai Qing to be her subordinate, his strength and talent were obvious. The pair of metal hooks in his hands flew around his body, emitting a terrifying aura. Heaven-snatching hook. Following Zhuo Zeshan's shout, the pair of metal hooks flew into the sky and spun toward Long Yu. Bloody shadows filled the sky and surged toward Long Yu like a surging tide. Earth-level martial skill. Long Yu immediately sensed the power of his opponent's martial skill. It was definitely a mid-Earth level martial skill, or even a high Earth level martial skill. Moreover, Zhuo Zeshan had cultivated it to at least the peak. The moment the heaven-seizing hook appeared, Long Yu's surroundings were filled with blood shadows. These blood shadows seemed as though they wanted to absorb all the heaven and earth spiritual qi in this space, then transform it into attack energy, blasting onto Long Yu's body. Reincarnation Barrier. Long Yu raised his hand and released all the netherworld qi from his body, condensing into a layer of Reincarnation Barrier. If that was all there was to it, he might not be able to withstand Zhuo Zeshan's heaven-snatching hook. However, at the same time, Long Yu also activated the Dragon Scale of Netherworld and began to borrow the Netherworld Qi in the ancient Dragon Bone Tower. After resonating with the ancient Dragon Bone Tower, Long Yu could borrow the Netherworld Qi stored in the ancient Dragon Bone Tower to increase the power of various martial skills related to the Netherworld Qi. The Reincarnation Barrier immediately spread out, enveloping Long Yu's entire body. Following that, the sky full of blood shadows bombarded Long Yu, causing a terrifying explosion. It was as if 1,000 ghosts were crying in pain, or as if 10,000 ghosts were howling. Haha, it's the power of reflection. Zhuo Zetian laughed loudly. He seemed to be affected by the destructive power of the bloody shadows reflected by the Reincarnation Barrier, but he was not affected at all. The bloody shadows dissipated. Long Yu only saw Zhuo Zetian casually raise his hand and disperse the bloody shadows that had been absorbed by the heaven-snatching hook. Long Yu narrowed his eyes. Indeed, from Zhuozhiqian, he could feel a completely different style from the human tribulation realm martial arts practitioners on Heavenly Mandate Island. The martial arts practitioners on the outside world were indeed much stronger than those on Heavenly Mandate Island at the same level. Awakening reincarnation, drunk in the Yellow Springs. Long Yu continued to use the same two moves. His two fists condensed the netherworld chi in the air, and the spirit of the Yellow Springs suddenly flashed, wanting to bind Zhuozhiqian within it. However, Zhuozhiqian's entire body erupted with ghost chi. With a turn of the two hooks, he easily dispersed the invisible spirit of the Yellow Springs. The path of the Yellow Springs spread out. Zhuozhiqian once again used the heaven-snatching hook. The bloody shadows flew and condensed, completely crushing the path of the Yellow Springs into pieces. Chapter 457. The energy of the ninth hell exploded and dispersed in the surroundings. Even though it caused Zhuozhiqian to feel pressured, it was unable to suppress his strength in the slightest in the end. Even the power of the palm of Samsara, awakening, enveloped Zhuozhiqian's entire body was dissolved by the heaven-stealing blood shadow. You are the only human glory realm cultivator who can fight against me for this long and even pose a slight threat to me. Zhuozhiqian stared at Long Yu with a burning desire for battle in his eyes. The more you are like this, the more I won't show you any mercy. Take this. The pair of metal hooks in Zhuozhiqian's hands danced along with his body. A giant blood shadow that looked like an ancient god appeared in the air. Heaven-stealing sovereign hook. As soon as the giant blood shadow appeared, it emitted a terrifying pressure. Long Yu's entire body was dyed blood red, as if he was covered in blood. I think I've seen this martial skill somewhere before. Oh right, the imperial summoning spirit art of the Chu clan. Long Yu looked at the gigantic blood shadow, holding the two hooks in its hands. He suddenly recalled what he had encountered in the Great Tang Empire. Wasn't the heaven-snatching hook emperor summoned by Zhuozhiqian the same as the Great Sword Emperor summoned by the Summoning Emperor Spirit Technique? However, this giant blood shadow was naturally much stronger than the Greatsword Emperor summoned by the Chu clan back then. True Spirit. The true spirit of the sun and moon appeared behind Long Yu. The killing moon saber light instantly swept towards the huge blood shadow, bringing with it an incomparable gale, as if it wanted to tear the huge blood shadow, which was the heaven-stealing hook emperor, to shreds. However, the giant blood shadow of the sky-dusting king only needed to slap both of its hands to easily disperse the moon-slaying knife lights. The sharp knife lights condensed from the divine steel's law were so fragile in front of the sky-dusting king. It seems that the heavenly monument's law is nothing in the Shunwu world. A random human tribulation realm young man has such strength. Long Yu's expression became even more serious. What he didn't know was that Zhuozhiqian wasn't a random human tribulation realm youth. Instead, Zhuozhiqian was an incomparably talented expert that Bai Qing had searched the entire Azura County with great difficulty. In terms of potential, Zhuozhiqian was definitely at the forefront of the Azura County's younger generation. Zhuozhiqian was considered one of the best fighters among the human tribulation realm cultivators in the entire Azura County. In the face of such an opponent, Long Yu knew that if he still fought with the same methods as before, he would definitely not be able to deal with his opponent. If he wanted to fight Zhuozhiqian, he would have to bring out the new combat methods he had comprehended during the fight against the exotic bee swarm. Law of the Nine Serenities, Heavenly Mandate, Divine Light. A fierce look flashed in Long Yu's eyes. He gathered the Heavenly Mandate Divine Light in his hands. A burst of dark divine light suddenly condensed into a beam and swept toward Zhuozhiqian. It suddenly exploded in midair. The Heavenly Mandate Divine Light activated by the law of the underworld was extremely powerful. Even if it was used by Long Yu, who was in the human glory realm, it would still pose a great threat to Zhuozhiqian. The Heavenly Mandate Divine Light exploded and enveloped Zhuozhiqian. However, The pair of metal hooks spun and flew out, easily bringing Zhuo Zetian out of the range of the heavenly mandate divine light's explosion. They sped toward Longyu. Heaven-stealing blood shadow. Zhuo Zetian's eyes flashed fiercely as he shouted. Suddenly, a wave of heavenly crystal realm law of heaven and earth erupted. Blood shadows danced in the sky and charged toward Longyu. At the same time, the giant blood shadow, which was the heaven-stealing hook emperor summoned by Zhuo Zetian, also charged toward Longyu. The terrifying pressure it emitted alone was enough to completely suppress an ordinary human glory realm cultivator and make them unable to move. Even Longyu's blood seemed to have completely frozen, making it difficult for the Xian Qi in his body to circulate. Tai-yin explosion. Longyu activated the Tai-yin wings and exploded the Tai-yin Qi, instantly alleviating the situation of being suppressed. Unfortunately, even so, he couldn't completely get rid of the opponent's pressure. This is the power of the heavenly crystal realm law. A look of surprise flashed in Longyu's eyes. When he was on Heavenly Mandate Island, although he saw many people using the heavenly crystal realm law's artistic conception, charm, and even the power of heaven and earth, he didn't see anyone who truly understood the law. He didn't expect that the first battle after leaving Heavenly Mandate Island would let Longyu see the power of the heavenly crystal realm law. Just the pressure of the aura alone was enough to make Longyu lose most of his combat power. Faced with such a situation, Longyu had no other choice but to use all his power. 9 explosions of the Dark Dragon. Dragon roar dark sky snow. With a thought, Longyu finally used the Great Desolate level martial technique. The 4th explosion of the Dark Dragon. 9 explosions. Dragon roar dark sky snow. With a dragon roar coming from the distant Great Desolate realm, Longyu's body was completely surrounded by black snowflakes, completely dispersing the pressure of Zhuo Zetian's heaven-stealing blood shadow, heavenly crystal realm law. At the same time, the first 3 explosions of the Dark Dragon. 9 explosions were used by Longyu in succession. The first explosion, gaining the upper hand. This explosion directly blew the heaven-snatching Hook Emperor's face beyond recognition, and the blood-colored figure turned into several pieces. The second explosion, illusory dragon roar. 7 dragon roars rang out in a row, immediately shocking Zhuo Zetian. Furthermore, a berserk shockwave exploded behind him, sending him flying. The third explosion, the spirit shock blast, was completely used on Zhuo Zetian, who had been sent flying, instantly causing him to feel dizzy. Break for me. Longyu took a step forward and raised his hand. The heavenly mandate, divine light, condensed from the 4 colors of heaven and earth exploded, completely destroying the huge blood shadow of the heaven-stealing Hook Emperor. His series of explosions made the eyes of the people watching the battle widen. They couldn't believe it. This kid was just a guy in the human glory realm, but he was able to burst out such a tyrannical power and blow away Zhuo Zetian, who was in the human calamity realm. It was incredible. That move just now, what martial skill was that? It seems to be more powerful than a heaven-level martial technique. Behind Bai Qing, the 5 subordinates of the heaven realm were whispering. They were all very interested in the martial technique that Longyu used. This kid just came from Floating Island. How could he have comprehended a martial technique that surpassed the heaven level? In my opinion, maybe he only comprehended an earth-level martial technique that reached the transcendent realm. I've seen someone use an earth-level martial technique that reached the transcendent realm, but its power was far from as powerful. It could only be used to fight against an existence that was 1 level higher than him. Everyone was discussing fervently, and the topic of their discussion could not deviate from the Nether Dragon 9 explosions that Longyu had just executed. Of course, they couldn't be sure. Longyu's move was indeed a powerful martial technique that surpassed the heaven level. It was a Great Desolate level martial technique. With one move, dragon roars resounded through the sky. In an instant, Zhuo Zetian's heaven crystal realm power was broken and Zhuo Zetian was blown away. Even Bai Qing and Tian Xinghe, the 2 experts in the divine secret realm, had a whole new level of respect for Long Yu. Among them, Bai Qing's eyes flashed with jealousy. She was a little unhappy that Shu Chan could find such a talented guy to be her subordinate. Deep in Tian Xing's eyes, there was a hint of killing intent. Although it was only for an instant, this trace of killing intent was detected by Long Yu's sharp senses. This guy wants to kill me. I have to be careful of him in the future. Long Yu didn't look at Tian Xinghe to avoid being noticed. He only warned himself to be careful. Cough. Zhuo Ziqian, who was sent flying by Long Yu's Dark Dragon 9 explosions, barely managed to support himself during the fall. He swayed in the air and didn't fall all the way to the bottom of the valley. What kind of martial technique was that? Zhuo Ziqian coughed out blood while staring at Long Yu. Do you admit defeat? Of course, Long Yu wouldn't answer his question. He just asked calmly. Admit defeat? You're dreaming. Zhuo Ziqian sneered. If I, Zhuo Ziqian, lose to a worldly glory realm brat like you today, how can I establish myself in Azura Valley in the future? Then let's continue. Long Yu said indifferently. Zhuo Ziqian didn't wait for Long Yu to finish speaking. He raised his hand, and the heaven-seizing blood shadow's heavenly crystal law aura swept out again. But this time, the aura of the heaven-seizing blood shadow contained the power of a divine character. Destroy divine character. A seemingly invincible divine power, accompanied by the pressure of the heavenly crystal-level laws, surged towards Long Yu, reaching him in the blink of an eye. It's a divine character with 1/10 of its power. Long Yu immediately felt the power of the divine character and let out a sigh of relief. If it was only 1/10 of the divine character's power, then it would be easy to deal with him. After all, even in Shunwu World's Azura Prefecture, divine character inscriptions weren't easy to obtain. Comprehending 1/10 of the divine character's power was already quite good. The power of the destroy divine character contained a terrifying destructive power. If he was hit directly, even Long Yu didn't know if he could survive. To deal with the human tribulation realm kid, I even have to use the divine character's power. Long Yu was a little surprised, but at this point he couldn't care too much. If he kept hiding, he might really lose to Zhuo Ziqian, who had so many tricks up his sleeves. When Long Yu moved his mind, the divine character's power spread out from his hands and spread to the surroundings. It was as if the entire valley was decorated into a dark night. Heavenly mandate, divine light, you divine character. Light screen. Long Yu condensed the heavenly mandate, divine light, with the divine character, and then condensed it into a dark, translucent barrier. In an instant, the opponent's heaven-seizing blood shadow law, aura, and the destroy divine character's power were completely blocked outside the dark light screen. This is an acquired skill. Many of the spectators' expressions changed. They didn't expect that this kid from the floating island could comprehend such an acquired skill. Long Yu didn't know what an acquired skill was, but he knew that he had successfully blocked the violent power of Zhuo Ziqian's destroy divine character. Hidden divine character. Chapter 458. Casting the hidden divine rune, Long Yu's figure disappeared. Zhuo Ziqian didn't even have time to react when he suddenly reappeared. Long Yu's nether dragon blade was already in front of Zhuo Ziqian's neck, causing the youth's expression to change drastically. Just now, Zhuo Ziqian was shocked by the Hotian divine ability that Long Yu had displayed. It was actually able to withstand the power of his violent destroy character. But in the next moment, Long Yu had already arrived behind him. Now, do you admit defeat? Long Yu said indifferently. There is no such thing as admitting defeat in my dictionary. Either you try to kill me, or you get the hell out of my way. Zhuo Ziqian snorted coldly. The pressure of the heaven-stealing blood shadow, law, erupted once again, wanting to knock Long Yu back. Without any hesitation, Long Yu stabbed down with a nether dragon blade in his hand, wanting to end the youth's life. However, he felt a hard layer of existence blocking the nether dragon blade's advance. So that's how it is. Interesting. Long Yu glanced over and saw that Zhuo Zetian's entire body was covered in a layer of black light. It was actually a defensive barrier released by some kind of battle weapon that covered his entire body. This time, Long Yu didn't directly kill Zhuo Zetian, but immediately after, he activated the power of the Yu Divine Rune and condensed it on the blade of the Nether Dragon Blade. Even when the dense heaven-seizing blood shadows aura surged towards him, Long Yu did not cower in the slightest. Instead, he wielded the Nether Void Dragon Blade and directly pierced towards Zhuo Zetian's black light defensive barrier. Puff! The Nether Dragon Blade was a battle weapon that far surpassed Zhuo Zetian's defensive battle weapon. After being infused with the Yu Divine Rune, it completely shattered the layer of black light defensive barrier. At the same time, Long Yu was pushed far away by the pressure of the heaven-seizing blood shadows law aura. The profound energy in his body shook. The power of the law comprehended by this youth, Zhuo Zetian, was truly tyrannical. It caused Long Yu to suffer some internal injuries. However, Long Yu was not afraid of getting hurt. On one hand, his fleshly body had been tempered by heavenly lightning and was extremely powerful. What should have been a serious injury would have been reduced to a light one. On the other hand, Long Yu had already comprehended 1% of the self-healing divine rune's power. Such a light injury was completely healed in an instant. Kacha! The sound of metal shattering rang out from Zhuo Zetian's body. Clearly, the defensive battle weapon he had secretly activated had been shattered by Long Yu's Nether Dragon Blade. Only then did Zhuo Zetian's expression change. He didn't expect Long Yu, a mere martial artist in the human glory realm, to be able to threaten his life and even shatter his last defensive weapon. Now, do you admit defeat? Long Yu emphasized once more, and then he activated the hidden divine rune once more, causing his entire body to vanish from midair. This time, even the Heaven Realm martial artists watching the battle found it difficult to detect Long Yu's presence. Only Bai Qing, Tian Xinghe, and Shu Chan in the Divine Secret Realm could barely sense where Long Yu was. In reality, it was impossible to achieve such an effect with just 1/10 of the hidden divine rune. Most importantly, Long Yu's element was compatible with the hidden divine rune. Even if he had only comprehended 1/10 of the hidden divine rune, he could still display a stronger effect than ordinary people. Bai Qing, who was standing to the side, had a trace of unwillingness on her face. She knew very well what it meant for Long Yu to be able to use the hidden divine rune to hide himself. This meant that Zhuo Zetian had no chance of winning against Long Yu. If Zhuo Zetian could break through to the Heaven Origin Realm, he might be able to use some methods to sense the flow of the laws of heaven and earth to find traces of Long Yu. But now, Zhuo Zetian couldn't do anything against Long Yu, who had used the hidden divine rune. Bai Qing wanted Zhuo Zetian to admit defeat, but she couldn't bring herself to say such words. Otherwise, wouldn't she suffer a great loss today? Zhuo Zetian looked at Bai Qing's expression and gritted his teeth. He was extremely unwilling to admit defeat. The heaven-stealing blood shadow law erupted once again, and its pressure enveloped the surrounding area. He didn't plan to admit defeat. If the news of him admitting defeat to a human glory realm martial artist were to spread, how could he establish himself in Azura province in the future? How would he have the face to face Bai Qing? Even if Bai Qing asked him to admit defeat, he wouldn't do so. You coward! What right do you have to make me admit defeat? Zhuo Zetian snorted coldly. Come and kill me if you have the guts. I want to see how you're going to kill me. The pressure of the heaven-stealing blood shadow law had already spread out. As long as Long Yu appeared in the vicinity, Zhuo Zetian would be able to sense him. However, how could Long Yu fall for his opponent's trap? Releasing the pressure of the heaven-stealing blood shadow law could prevent Long Yu from launching a sneak attack. However, this method consumed a lot of energy. Long Yu didn't need to make a move now. He only needed to wait for a period of time, and Zhuo Zetian would naturally be exhausted. At that time, he would be able to suppress Zhuo Zetian without any suspense. Long Yu concealed himself and observed Zhuo Zetian's actions from afar. However, at this moment, Tian Xinghe, who was watching from the side, suddenly said with a faint smile, "What you're doing is useless. I have an invisible blade here. I'll lend it to you." After saying this, the black-clothed youth raised his hand and threw a translucent blade of light in front of Zhuo Zetian. Tian Xinghe actually interfered in the middle of the battle and gave Zhuo Zetian a heaven-grade combat weapon. The invisible blade is a mid-grade heaven-grade combat weapon. It's considered one of the top treasures in your hands, yet you're willing to take it out. Shu Chan, who was standing at the side, said indifferently, "Since that's the case, Long Yu catch." As the sound of her voice faded, Shu Chan raised her hand and took out a round disc that emitted an ancient aura from her bosom. She then threw it into the air as if she was going to give it to Long Yu, a powerful combat weapon. Shu Chan's action caused Tian Xinghe and Bai Qing's expressions to change. Just as Bai Qing was about to warn him, Zhuo Zetian didn't even think about it. He held the Heavenly Star River's invisible blade and flew towards the place where Shu Chan threw the desolate ancient aura disc. Die. The translucent heaven-grade combat weapon in Zhuo Zetian's hand emitted a sharp luster as it slashed down. Currently, Zhuo Zetian didn't know where Long Yu was. This was what troubled him the most, but now that Shu Chan wanted to lend the combat weapon to Long Yu, Zhuo Zetian thought he knew where Long Yu was. As the invisible blade slashed down, it created a whirlwind that broke through the airflow. If Long Yu was nearby, he would definitely be affected by the whirlwind, and even breathing would become difficult. But what Zhuo Zetian didn't expect was that Long Yu wasn't here at all. The direction where Shu Chan threw the ancient disc was not towards Long Yu, but towards the opposite side of Long Yu. At this moment, Zhuo Zetian wielded the invisible battle blade and charged towards the direction of the ancient desolate aura disc. This gave Long Yu a very good opportunity. Of course, Long Yu wouldn't miss such a good opportunity. Kill. With the Netherworld Dragon Blade in his hand, Long Yu took the opportunity to appear behind Zhuo Zetian in a flash, and before he could react, he stabbed into his back. The power of the Nether character contained endless Netherworld Qi, which instantly wreaked havoc in Zhuo Zetian's body. Although Long Yu's attack didn't hit Zhuo Zetian's vitals, it still caused him to suffer serious injuries, causing him to cough out a mouthful of black blood. Nice teamwork. Shu Chan squinted her eyes not far away. Her eyes curved into crescent moons. Obviously, she was very satisfied with Long Yu's performance. Initially, she wanted to lend the desolate Qi disc to Long Yu. After all, it was a great desolate grade battle weapon. It was a powerful existence that only she, as a princess, could possess. But on second thought, if she threw the combat weapon like that, wouldn't Zhuo Zetian know where Long Yu was? With this thought in mind, Shu Chan threw the disc in the opposite direction, immediately attracting Zhuo Zetian's attention, giving Long Yu a great opportunity. And Long Yu didn't miss this opportunity, and took the opportunity to seriously injure Zhuo Zetian. Everything happened too quickly. Even if Bai Qing and Tian Xinghe wanted to warn Zhuo Zetian, they couldn't make it in time. They could only watch as Long Yu attacked and seriously injured Zhuo Zetian. Long Yu followed up with a flying kick, sending Zhuo Zetian's body flying into the dense forest below. This time, Zhuo Zetian didn't have any strength left. He fell head first into the valley, startling a flock of birds. Long Yu won, Shu Chan said with a smile on her face. Yes, Bai Qing's expression was as if she had choked on an egg. It was as exciting as it could be. When she saw Tian Xinghe using the invisible battle blade, she was somewhat happy. She didn't expect it to be the cause of Zhuo Zetian's defeat. The invisible battle blade was guided by Tian Xinghe's energy and returned to his hand. What a waste, falling for it so easily. However, it's all thanks to Princess's divine foresight. Tian Xinghe smiled like a gentleman, as if he didn't mind that Zhuo Zetian had been seriously injured by Long Yu. In fact, Zhuo Zetian was Bai Qing's man, so what did it have to do with him? Although he was defeated by Long Yu, causing Tian Xinghe to feel somewhat unhappy in his heart, he naturally did not express his unhappiness. Instead, He took the opportunity to flatter Shu Chan. This fellow had truly reached a certain realm. Enough with the nonsense. Shu Chan waved her hand and giggled. Fourth senior sister, since your man is lost, you have to fulfill your promise. If Princess has any instructions, just say it. Bai Qing forced a smile and said respectfully to Shu Chan, didn't you obtain a worldly golden pill a while ago? Give that worldly golden pill to Long Yu. Shu Chan said casually. Bai Qing's expression turned extremely ugly when she said this. Princess, this worldly golden pill, I know it's very precious. But I hope that I am willing to concede defeat, right? Shu Chan narrowed her eyes. She didn't really want to make things difficult for Bai Qing, but since Bai Qing dared to take the initiative to challenge Long Yu, wasn't she looking down on her, Shu Chan? Chapter 459. With regards to Shu Chan's request, Bai Qing was in a difficult position, but she could only comply. Tian Xinghe originally wanted to plead on Bai Qing's behalf, but when he saw Shu Chan's expression, he dispelled the idea. Looks like the princess really values this kid. This is his fortune. Tian Xinghe smiled faintly. You're even willing to give him the vast circle golden pill. I hope he won't disappoint the princess. I believe you won't. Shu Chan said directly. Bai Qing naturally wouldn't keep the vast circle golden pill on her body. As the group flew deeper into the Azure mountain range, Long Yu could feel many people looking at him with envy and jealousy. It seemed like it was an honor to be able to become the little princess subordinate. Unfortunately, Long Yu had never thought of becoming Shu Chan's subordinate. The youth Shu Zetian had been seriously injured by Long Yu. Without the help of pills, only death awaited him. Bai Qing called for someone to bring him back. This time, not only did Bai Qing lose the vast circle golden pill, but she also had to use healing pills to save Zhuo Zetian. This was a huge loss, but she brought this upon herself. Very quickly, a mountain city hidden in the valley appeared in front of Long Yu. It stretched for tens of thousands of feet, with no end in sight. The mountain valley was filled with lush green trees and lush foliage, hiding the entire mountain city from view. However, with a glance, one could vaguely see all kinds of buildings in the valley, showing just how vast this mountain city was. This mountain city was the Azure mountain valley that Shu Chan mentioned. It was located in the center of the Azure County, and the Azure Duke lived in this mountain city. Our rapport just now was not bad. Shu Chan, who was with Long Yu Fei, chuckled and said. But Long Yu's eyes narrowed. But what? Shu Chan raised her head and looked at him. But I have ambition. Long Yu looked at Shu Chan, smiled, and said with a deep meaning. I know. Shu Chan didn't care at all. She waved her hand. Of course, she knew what Long Yu meant. This brat wasn't willing to be her subordinate. However, I am also ambitious. The corners of Shu Chan's mouth curled up slightly as she said the same thing. This made Long Yu a little confused. After all, he didn't know what kind of life Shu Chan lived and what kind of path she took. Of course, he couldn't understand Shu Chan's ambitions. War acquired supernatural powers. Long Yu changed the topic and asked. The acquired skills are martial arts techniques that can be activated with the power of the divine text, such as the move you just performed, the divine light of heavenly mandate. Shu Chan explained, acquired divine abilities aren't commonly seen in the Shura County. However, it allows a martial cultivator to display a power similar to divine abilities before reaching the divine ability realm. It's extremely powerful. Correspondingly, the innate skills are comprehended after entering the secret realm of divine powers. In comparison, the innate skills are many times stronger than the acquired ones. What is the worldly golden elixir? Long Yu continued to ask. When he saw Bai Qing's pained expression when she handed over the Rinhuan golden pill, he knew that the Rinhuan golden pill wasn't something simple. Since Shu Chan was willing to give it to him, it showed that she really valued him. It's an elixir beyond the heaven grade, a desolate grade elixir. The corners of Shu Chan's mouth curled up slightly. You should be familiar with this grade, right? Many of the martial skills and battle weapons you've cultivated are of this grade. A desolate great elixir. I see. Long Yu nodded. Only now did he realize how precious the worldly golden elixir was. No matter if it was pills, combat weapons, or martial skills, they were all divided into different grades, from mortal grade to spirit grade, profound grade, earth grade, and heaven grade. The more precious and rare they were, the more useful they were for martial cultivators. Above the heaven grade was the desolate grade. In the Yellow Sand Heaven City, most of the elixirs and weapons the first city lord brought back were heaven grade elixirs and earth grade combat weapons. It was obvious that weapons of the same grade were more precious than elixirs. A desolate great elixir, the worldly golden elixir, was definitely not as valuable as a Dark Dragon 9 explosion martial skill or a desolate grade combat weapon. But for martial cultivators of the secret realm of divine powers, a desolate great elixir was already very rare. Regardless of elixirs or weapons, once they surpassed the heaven grade, they were extremely rare because they were not something that a pill alchemist or weapon alchemist could casually refine. As for martial skills, they were even more precious because in the entire Shenwu world, no one could create a desolate grade martial skill. All desolate grade martial skills were passed down from ancient times. This worldly golden elixir was given to Bai Qing by my father not long ago, because she did a good job, Shu Chan said. But even my father could not refine a worldly golden elixir. Our Shura province does not have the resources to refine a desolate great elixir. This worldly golden elixir was brought back by my father from somewhere else. The entire Shura province could not refine a desolate great elixir. Long Yu finally understood how precious this worldly golden elixir was. Once you get your hands on this worldly golden elixir, take it immediately. Shu Chan continued. Other than that, I also have a set of Heaven 9 Universe Elixirs, a total of 9 Heaven Grade Elixirs. This is a famous set of elixirs in our Shura province. All 9 elixirs are Heaven Grade. They do not conflict with one another and can be completely absorbed by the user. Normally, after taking the Heaven 9 Universe Elixir, one's martial realm will improve. And Long Yu nodded. The worldly golden elixir and the Heaven 9 Universe Elixir were not things that he could obtain on Heavenly Mandate Island. It seemed that following Shu Chan was the right choice. No matter what, Long Yu valued his martial realm the most. He was very touched that Shu Chan had given him so many resources to improve his martial realm. The group flew forward and soon entered the range of the mountain city. The center of the entire mountain city was located in a valley. The Shura Prefecture King, Shu Chan, and the others lived in the center of this valley. Long Yu looked around, but he did not see any overly luxurious decorations. All the buildings looked quite natural, as if they had naturally existed there. Because they were built in the mountains, some of the courtyards did not need to be decorated with artificial mountains or anything like that, because there were already small hills, small gardens, and so on. The entire environment was very natural. For senior sister, I will take Long Yu to settle down first. That worldly golden elixir, Shu Chan said to Bai Qing. Bai Qing, of course, understood what Shu Chan meant. She immediately said, "Understood, princess. I will send the worldly golden elixir to you." And thank you, fourth senior sister. Shu Chan's eyes turned into crescent moons again. Following that, Long Yu followed Shu Chan down and arrived at a rather elegant and unique courtyard. This courtyard had an antique feel to it and was built with mahogany. It was situated in the middle of a mountain, and all the beautiful scenery was natural. Behind the courtyard, there was even a small waterfall, and the sound of water flowing could be heard continuously. This is the Heaven 9 Universe Elixir. Keep it safe. As for the worldly golden elixir, I will give it to you when I get it. Shu Chan made arrangements for Long Yu. You rest here first. I have to go back and change my clothes and meet my father. Okay, go ahead. Long Yu nodded. After Shu Chan left, Long Yu was the only one left in the courtyard. He enjoyed the beautiful scenery of the mountains and felt the rich spiritual chi of heaven and earth. He felt refreshed. There were over 10 million cultivators living in this Azura Valley. However, Long Yu's place was extremely quiet. After all, This was a place arranged by Princess Shu Chan normally. No one would come and disturb him. Even the sky above the valley was considered a restricted area. Anyone who trespassed would be stopped by the Azura Duke's guards. Long Yu only rested for a while. Shu Chan sent someone to bring a new set of clothes and a token for Long Yu. This token represented Shu Chan's identity. As long as he showed this token, he would be able to enter and exit the valley freely. He would not be stopped by the Azura Duke's guards. As for the clothes, Long Yu thought for a while and changed into it. Instantly, he became a handsome young man wearing a black robe. There were some strange patterns on the robe. Long Yu was not unfamiliar with this kind of clothes. This was because most of the people in Tian Xinghe and this place wore the same clothes. After wearing the clothes, Long Yu felt like he had blended into the Azura County. After spending some time, Long Yu walked around the entire courtyard. He discovered that the courtyard was actually quite spacious. There were more than 10 redwood rooms. The scenery was beautiful. Not to mention Long Yu living alone, it was more than enough for a few people to live in. Long Yu arrived near the small waterfall at the back of the courtyard. At a glance, the entire waterfall flowed down and crashed into a rapid river. This river just happened to separate the courtyard that Long Yu was in from another beautiful courtyard on the opposite side. "You are the newcomer, Long Yu?" At this time, a curious voice sounded, attracting Long Yu's attention. He turned his head and saw a fat man taking off his shoes and washing his feet in the river below the waterfall. The fat man was staring at Long Yu with curiosity in his eyes. It was as if he had found a fun toy. What surprised Long Yu was that he could not see through the fat man's cultivation. It was similar to Shu Chan's. Theurgy's secret realm. Long Yu raised his eyebrows. He did not expect a 17 or 18-year-old fat man to be in the Theurgy secret realm. It seemed that the Azura County was really full of talented people. "That's right. Everyone calls me Little Fatty Theurgy." The fat man pulled his feet out of the river and stood up. He stretched and looked at Long Yu with a wretched smile. "News about you has spread. I heard that you defeated Bai Qing's subordinate, Zhuo Tian. Amazing, amazing." Long Yu was a little surprised. This matter had spread so quickly. Chapter 460. Long Yu walked a few steps forward and arrived at the riverside. He looked at Little Fatty with interest and asked, "Are you one of the princess's people?" Little Fatty stretched his joints and said lazily, "It would be great if I were the princess's man. Her figure, her face, TSK, TSK. It's a pity that I'm only the princess's subordinate." When Long Yu saw his wretched look, black lines appeared on his face. "How many of the princess subordinates live here?" Long Yu continued to ask. "Including you, there are 7 in total." With a light leap, Little Fatty leaped over the rapidly flowing river and arrived in front of Long Yu. Carefully sizing him up, he squinted his eyes and said with a smile, "You have the lowest martial realm among the 7 of us. The others are at least at the heavenly tribulation realm, so I'll call you Little 7. I'm older than you." Long Yu's eyebrows twitched. This divine ability Little Fatty was interesting, acting like an old man. "Don't look at how young and handsome I look. I'm almost 30 years old." Little Fatty chuckled. "I entered the celestial realm at the age of 8, so very few people can guess my age just by looking at me." 8 years old? Impressive. Long Yu was slightly stunned, but then he smiled. It seemed that the Shura County of the Shenwu continent was indeed full of talented people. It was much stronger than Heavenly Mandate Island. Of course, this had to do with the amount of cultivation resources, but it had to be said that there were many more talented people in the Shura County than on Heavenly Mandate Island. After all, a martial arts practitioner in the True Spirit Secret Realm would not be able to absorb any profound level, earth level, or even heaven level elixirs. To improve one's strength in the Shura County, the most important thing was one's own talent. Otherwise, there would be no one in the Shura County who could not enter the Celestial Realm or even the True Spirit Secret Realm. In reality, people in the body-tempering Secret Realm were not rare in the Shura County. Of course, these were the people who lived at the bottom of Shura County. Big Brother and the others are not here today. I can introduce you to them another day. Fatty laughed. Let me introduce myself. I am Rin Ping Fan. Rin Ping Fan, a good name, but you are not ordinary. Long Yu smiled and said, Of course. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. The princess should be looking for you. You should hurry back. Little fatty Rin Ping Fan gestured behind Long Yu with his lips. Okay, let's talk next time. Long Yu nodded his head, turned around, and left with little fatty. As an expert in the secret realm of the supernatural, Rin Ping Fan had sensed Shu Chan's aura before Long Yu. Long Yu guessed that Shu Chan had come to give him the Renhuan golden pill. Interesting. Little fatty Rin Ping Fan looked at Long Yu's departing back with interest. Perhaps he felt that the future would be interesting. As expected, Shu Chan had come to give him the Renhuan golden pill. However, she left after delivering the pill. She told Long Yu to absorb the pill and consolidate his martial arts realm. If the Renhuan golden pill wasn't so precious, Shu Chan wouldn't have needed to come personally. She could have just asked someone to deliver it. However, it was not an ordinary item, so she had to make the trip personally. Long Yu put away the Renhuan golden pill and prepared to take the Heaven 9 universe pill. As for the Renhuan golden pill, he would put it aside for the time being. If he could step into the human tribulation realm after taking the Heaven 9 universe pill, then there was no need for him to take the vast humanity golden pill for the time being. This was because he knew that if he wanted to improve in the human tribulation realm, it was not as simple as absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The human tribulation realm is divided into upper, middle, and lower tribulations. They are all tribulations that come from everyone's heart. Compared to the heavenly tribulation realm, the three tribulations in the human tribulation realm mainly rely on one's willpower. Long Yu thought to himself, as long as one was persistent in martial arts, passing the human tribulation was not a problem. The upper, middle, and lower tribulations would not come consecutively. There would be a period of time between each tribulation. The length of this period of time had nothing to do with the absorption of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. It was related to the cultivator's mental journey. If one experienced too many tribulations, it would naturally trigger the mental tribulation. On the other hand, if one kept cultivating in seclusion, it would be very difficult to break through the human tribulation realm and step into the heavenly beginning realm. The Heaven 9 Universe Pill was a set of 9 heaven-grade pills. It was a set of common pills prepared for martial arts cultivators in the Shura Prefecture. However, only those who were powerful and influential could obtain this set of pills. Although it was a common pill, it was still very valuable. If it wasn't for Shu Chan, it would not have been so easy for Long Yu to obtain the Heaven 9 Universe Pill. The 9 heaven-grade pills were usually taken separately. After all, ordinary martial arts cultivators, especially those who were only in the glory realm like Long Yu, would definitely not be able to absorb so much spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Even if it was not wasted, it would cause the spiritual energy to expand and lead to cultivation deviation. The 9 underworld dragon seal is gone, so I'll let you replace it. Long Yu sat in a red wooden house filled with the fragrance of sandalwood. He took out the void nether dragon blade and held it tightly in his hand. Then he swallowed one of the heaven-grade pills. Then he tried to guide the medicinal energy of the heaven-grade pill into the void nether dragon blade in his hand. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly. He realized that the void nether dragon blade could really store medicinal energy, just like the 9 underworld dragon seal. Consort Yu, no matter who you are, thank you for this gift. The void nether dragon blade was forged by Consort Yu. She had collected 5 space crystals from exotic beasts, then fused a strand of the ancient consciousness of the 9 underworld dragon, and even a drop of Consort Yu's own blood. Such a combat weapon had surpassed the Great Desolate level combat weapon and reached the ancient level. It was a pity that Long Yu had yet to merge with it, so he could not unleash the full power of the void nether dragon blade. The next time I see Shu Chan, I'll have to ask her if she has any assassination skills that I can learn. Long Yu thought to himself. With the void nether dragon blade in his hand, if he were to learn a powerful assassination skill, it was easy to imagine how powerful it would be. Under his sneak attack, even an expert 3 realms higher than him would not be able to escape alive. He just didn't know if Shu Chan could take out any assassination skills for Long Yu to learn. This Shu Chan has given me so many benefits. I'm afraid I'll have to work myself to the bone for her in the future. Long Yu frowned slightly. He did not like the feeling of being a subordinate, but under the current circumstances, this was the only thing he could do. Besides, being the subordinate of a princess was better than being the subordinate of someone else. Right now, his strength was too weak. If he wanted to establish himself in Azura County, he indeed needed a backer. And the young princess, Shu Chan, was a good person. At least she made Long Yu feel comfortable. If it was someone like Bai Qing or Tian Xinghe, Long Yu would have already quit. Regardless, he should try to increase his cultivation first. After Long Yu confirmed that the void nether dragon blade could store heaven and earth spiritual chi, he directly swallowed the Empyrean 9 universe pill. If this scene was seen by others, they would be so shocked that their jaws would drop to the ground. But to Long Yu, this was nothing. The void nether dragon blade could store heaven and earth spiritual chi. Furthermore, Long Yu had completely absorbed the medicinal energy of the Empyrean 9 universe pill, not wasting a single bit. This was almost inconceivable to others. Even the princess, Shu Chan, who had extremely high martial talent and stepped into the mystical ability realm at a young age, could only absorb 40 to 50% of the medicinal energy when absorbing the pill. There had never been anyone in the entire Azura County who could completely absorb the medicinal energy of a pill. Absorb. Long Yu sensed the dense heaven and earth spiritual chi in the void nether dragon blade and finally began to absorb it, using it to temper his physical body. His limbs and bones were instantly filled with incomparably dense heaven and earth spiritual chi, seeping into every part of his body. His meridians, acupoints, organs, everything was being absorbed by the heaven and earth spiritual chi. Bursts of lightning from the law of nightmare thunder emitted from all over his body. His physical body had once been tempered by the law of nightmare thunder, making it much stronger than ordinary martial cultivators. Not long ago, he had also comprehended the power of the self-healing divine rune. He could probably kill martial cultivators of the same realm with just the strength of his physical body alone. However, Long Yu's current opponents were obviously not martial cultivators of the same realm as him. Back in Yellow Sand Sky City, he had already killed Yu Wanliang, who was in the Heaven Flower realm, by surprise. Now that he had come to Azura County, he naturally had to set his sights higher. When I step into the human tribulation realm, I should be qualified to fight against opponents in the heavenly tribulation realm. Long Yu thought to himself. At this moment, his entire body was enveloped by nightmare thunder, and the heaven and earth spiritual chi continuously tempered his physical body, as well as the heaven meridian that had long been completely opened. To borrow the law of heaven and earth, the most basic thing was the heaven meridian in a martial cultivator's body. Tempering the heaven meridian would allow the martial cultivator to be more compatible with the world and be able to borrow the power of the law of heaven and earth. In the heavenly people's secret realm, the biggest difference between each realm was that the martial cultivator could borrow more power of the law of heaven and earth, and thus become stronger. Therefore, tempering the heaven meridian with the heaven and earth spiritual chi was the most important step in the process of raising one's martial arts realm. For 3 days and 3 nights, without sleep or rest, Long Yu continuously absorbed the heaven's spiritual chi stored in the void spirit dragon blade, using it to temper his entire body, and most importantly, the heaven meridian. After these 3 days and 3 nights, Long Yu felt enlightened. He had finally broken through the shackles that had trapped him for 3 days. He had broken through the bottleneck, and was about to step into the human tribulation realm. However, at this moment, Long Yu suddenly had many distracting thoughts that he shouldn't have. Among these distracting thoughts were greed, desire, hatred, and most importantly, doubt. As for distracting thoughts like greed, desire, and hatred, Long Yu was extremely strong-willed. He only needed to grit his teeth to get rid of them. But in the end, there was still a deeper and deeper doubt that grew in the depths of his heart. The reason why he couldn't overcome these doubts was that ever since he came to this world where martial arts were respected, these doubts had always existed in Long Yu's mind. Why did he come to this world after his death? Why did Consort Yu carve the 9 underworld's dragon mark on his chest? All of these were mysteries. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.